Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, visionaries, and welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck-building visionary, or just like having a bit of fun, we can help you buff your game and achieve your Hearthstone goals. Joining us this fine Wednesday evening is Eve Martin. Welcome, Eve.
Thank you, Reno. I'm happy to be here.
And joining us from across the United States on the opposite end of the continent is Ridiculous Hat.
I was informed I was going to be rich if I joined this podcast.
You're
or
going to
have
be rich.
fun.
We gotta wait to the end.
Being rich is fun, so I've heard. I wouldn't.
And joining us from down south in Texas is Grant Gould. How are you doing tonight, Grant? I'm great, and I'm going to stop doing Reno. That's enough of that.
Does it hurt your throat? It sounds
Wait.
amazing.
Nope,
But
it doesn't hurt a bit.
Who is Reno Jackson's favorite Canadian?
Unless Brand's Canadian or Elise is Canadian, I'm guessing Eve?
I would guess so.
I don't know.
Seems like she could be Canadian.
She kind of does. Maybe she's a Canadian, night elf.
Yep.
Maybe that's why she likes adventure and exploring, because, there's lots of that in Canada.
Way up north.
Way up north.
She's an Acadian, 100%.
An Acadian.
Yes.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we got a doozy of a show coming up. They finally dropped all the cards. In fact, they dropped them all today. They are for your pleasure in viewing and theory crafting, all ready to go, and we will be seeing them next week. So we're going to talk some news, and then we're going to talk some reviews and what we think, good, bad, ugly, whatever, sort of free form. So excited to have Ridiculous Hat on the show. Hat, how long has it been since you've been on the show? It's been at least a year or two, hasn't it? It's been a
Rob
while.
was still on the last time, right?
Yes. Yeah. Were we doing class showcases? Because I know Appa was on around that time to talk about Shaman, or a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, over a year ago.
And you were talking about Rogue, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I was talking about Rogue.
Why wouldn't we talk about Rogue? Because Rogue's Bay.
Well, we wouldn't talk about Rogue if they're you don't know they're there. They're sneaky.
Have you been paying special attention to the rogue cards as each one of them is revealed? Kind of seeing how.
So, I like to think I'm pretty dialed into all the cards, but I do keep a special spot in my heart for Rogue, because Rogue cards are kind of historically hard to evaluate and really fit more so than others in the context of a larger picture. Because the combo mechanic, and this is why I think it took them so long to nerf prep, it's like Jenga. If you pull out too many pieces, the whole thing falls over, because if your combo cards don't work together, you don't play them individually. It's not like just SI or just Edwin Van Cleef. You play them all together. And so if that doesn't work anymore, you have to you can't really engage with the whole concept of combo. And so rogue cards are kind of printed with that in mind. They're meant to be played in large quantities simultaneously. And that really colors how you have to look at them. So I've been keeping an eye out. The class is definitely moving in a different direction than it was a few years ago. It's definitely pretty centered in the Burgle mechanic now, and they printed some good enablers for it. But also, there are some cards that I think look better than they might actually be, and some cards that, as always, are kind of tricky overperformers that look like they're not going to be very good. So,
Well, it strikes me that the Burgle mechanic is only so good as the class cards of the other classes are.
well,
If you have
You
a whole
could
bunch of
get-
really good class cards printed, that might actually increase how good Burgle ends up being.
but all the class cards are printed in the context of that class, right? It's Archmage Antonitis. Very good mage card, much better in Rogue. Really, really good Rogue card. Strongly recommend having Archmage Antonitis in Rogue.
Can vouch as true. Yes, very true.
Now, there are other cards that are less good in Rogue, like, I don't know, a lot of the warrior cards, right? You don't want your rogue to
Yes.
have brawl unless you know you're having brawl at the beginning of the game, and then you play very differently. But it's really the thing about Burgle is that the way they're moving in Burgle now, they changed it with Rise of Shadows. Henchclan Burglar was the big change of get a card from a class that's not rogue as opposed to get a card from your opponent's class. So
Mhm.
now you can't really predict what you're going to get or play around, but also
Mhm.
that means that if your opponent plays a Henchclan on 4, then you could be getting Pyroblast on turn 10 no matter what you do. You could be getting Pyroblast. So
Mhm.
that high roll potential and that significant range of variance, it just makes it harder to pin down. But yes, Eve, I agree. If the
That
cards
is
are on average
true.
better, then you get better cards.
I didn't really think of
Mhm.
that before, but like if you knew that they were burgling cards from you, you could kind of mentally go through all the spells you have access to, all the minions you have
Right.
access to, and
Mhm.
sort of be like, okay, I don't really have to worry about this. And now it's like wide open.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. Tournament players before were never really thrilled about the stealing mechanic because it was inconsistent, but at least you know what you're getting and your opponent can play around it. If you're a mage and I steal from you, I could get a fireball, and you know I could get a fireball or a flame strike or a blizzard,
Mhm.
but it's not going to be like a what am I thinking? It's not going to be
Evolve.
like devolve or mind control or whatever.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But and if you're a warrior, you don't really have to worry about a lot of burn damage. But now it just could be anything. It could be absolutely
Mhm.
anything.
So is that good or bad?
Who are you
That kind
asking?
of, you know what, now that you've pointed it out, it
Good,
makes me a
that's
little
fair.
sad because I do like that narrowing down of the possibilities so that people could still be strategic both ways. And the fact that it kind of hamstrung the rogue to be up against another rogue and then just get rogue cards. I
That
wish
felt
they could
bad.
just do something to fix that, but still narrow it down so that if you were facing a mage, you knew the pool of cards they were drawing from. Because that strategy kind of appeals to me.
It's like if you're going for the strategic appeal, the competitive appeal, which I guess segues pretty nicely into our news section, then absolutely it is better to know the pool you're pulling from. If you're going for highlights and crazy game stories, the way we have now, you will build game states that you could never achieve otherwise.
Mhm.
So
That's true.
there's something to be said for variance in gameplay, but there's something to be said for too much and for not enough.
Well, that's the kind of the general talking point, right? That's what, like, people who want to kind of, who are looking for a reason to complain, I guess you could say, they'll say that, great, so more variance in the game, and now games are decided based on RNG, and so you can't play it based on skill, and, fill in the blanks.
Yeah, Blizzard's stance has always kind of been the skill of the player is how they react to variance and how they plan for it and how they play around it, which,
Mhm.
I mean, that's a bit of a meme in and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean,
You should
the
have planned
same
for
people,
Pyroblast.
the same people are hitting top 100 legend every month, regardless of whether it's Rostakon's Rumble or Rise of Shadows or
Mhm.
now. And if people are getting the same results in different metas, they're probably doing something that other people aren't, and there is probably a skill level there. Even if
Yeah.
the play patterns of the game themselves is a little variant, but I mean, I wouldn't even say it as people that want to complain. I'd say people that feel they're over-invested, because there's a lot of discussion to be had about the identity of being a Hearthstone player and the feeling of playing Hearthstone being very different things from time to time, and
Mhm.
reconciling the distance between those two concepts of I am a Hearthstone player and I am playing Hearthstone right now. Very different feelings sometimes. Like, Grant, you're a Hearthstone player, but Shutterwalk in its prime did not make you feel like you were playing Hearthstone. And when it did,
Mm-mm.
you didn't want to. And how do you
True story.
reconcile those two things? It's a very
Yeah.
difficult thing.
That's true. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. And what does Eve do? Like, Eve loves Hearthstone. Does Eve like Iceblock? No. When Eve's opponent turns blue when she kills them and they don't actually die? No.
But I still
So-
feel like I'm playing Hearthstone. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't give me an identity crisis. For me, like I did eventually get to the point a long time ago where if I didn't find a deck I could have fun with, I didn't play. Because I am a gamer and I have multiple games that I play and I have a lot of different avenues I can go
Mhm.
down if I would like to play games, and Hearthstone isn't the one for me right now. But I do have to say I'm excited about this expansion. I did
Yeah.
not get super excited about Rosokon's Rumble. I did not get super excited about Witchwood, and there were a couple expansions there that were like, oh, this looks cool. But this one is making me feel like Ungoro. This one is like full, and maybe it's just the art. The art is amazing. Like these cards are next level art. And that gets me
So
excited.
here's a question, and I have a theory about this. So, do you think it seems to me like a lot of the cards that have come out, and this is almost should be really be like a pre or post review comment, but I'll say it up ahead before we get going. Is do you think that the power level of the cards has risen? I actually think it does. I think there's a lot more power, at least on the front end. And I'm wondering if it's because there's a philosophy change within Team 5. That being, we're going to start out with crazy powerful cards, and then we're going to nail them if they get too much. We're going to let the players do stupid, broken things for a while, and then we're just going to tamp them down as we need to. Because they've seemed, over the last year or so, to be a little more willing to like jump in and make changes and edit this, change that, put this in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. What do you guys think?
My theory was that because they established the class identity, they said they wanted to be able to make more powerful things for those classes when they gave them a weakness. So they felt more free to make them something very powerful when they knew there was going to be a downside to that class. They weren't going to be able to do all of the things. So it freed them up to be like, okay, let's take a risk in this direction. Let's make cards that play into their strengths because there's going to be weaknesses to even them out. What do you think, Kat?
So, I have a theory because I'm thinking I'm going to make a reference to something that happened in a different card game 15 years ago, which is, I promise it's super relevant. So, Magic the Gathering, which is,
it's not Magic, is it?
It is Magic the Gathering. It is the grandparent of all card games, of course, at least in this space. And for years and years and years, the game had a bunch of really, really great spells, and creatures were bad. They were really bad. There was a pro player that was quoted saying, "Why would I ever put creatures in my deck? All they do is die." And in 2004, which was, the game had been out for just over 10 years, the first Ravnica set came out, and they printed a 2-mana 3/3 called Watchwolf. And it was just a 2-mana 3/3, and it was the first time they'd ever done it. No drawback, nothing special, just blank card, just 2 mana, 3/3. And everyone lost their mind. Oh my god, power creep, blah, 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 everything's getting so crazy. Creatures are too good now. Creatures are, and minions, by extension, are inherently faced with the drawback of being a minion in a game that cares only about dealing with minions. The entire game is like, my minion fights your minion, or I kill your thing, or my thing is bigger than your thing, or I have more of them, or whatever. And pushing board-centric strategies is inherently counterbalanced by the fact that board-centric strategies are what the game is built around beating. It's all about putting stuff down on the board and then dealing with it. When Hearthstone isn't about that, it gets really unfun for a lot of people really quickly when you have your Freeze Mages and your Shutterwalks and your Mechathune decks and whatever other combo decks that kill from hand. Cyclone Mage is the best current example of that. Or when you top deck a bomb and then you're like, oh, that was fun. I didn't even get to take my turn. Ha, so much tension.
Or make you draw through your entire deck and die to fatigue.
Yeah, something like that. So whenever you're not playing for the board, Hearthstone's like, a part of this game is missing. Because inherently it's stronger to do something else if you can skip the core part of the game entirely. Because everyone else is going to be so focused on dealing with the board that they have all these minion destruction spells and like Hellfires and whatever. And then if you just don't play minions, like, well, I have all these cards that kill minions. They don't do anything. And I have all these taunts, but you're not attacking me. So what they're doing, what Team 5 has done, is they've taken all the cards that are about being on the board, like High Priest Amit, which we'll talk about. It's all about health and board and minions. And they made those cards really good. And they took all the cards that are about skipping the board, and they made them all really bad. They made them way worse. And that's really cool, because they're pushing the power level where the game is already kind of has a natural mechanism to push back against it. And they're reining in the power level of all the stuff that played really well from hand, like Recruit and Death Knights and all that other stuff, which seemed really cool and fun at the time because it's a different way to play the class, but the way we had to play the class was fine, and nobody wants to be Rexar and just keep hitting that button. So I think the answer is yes, but in a way that the game can handle, as opposed to prior ways where the power level has been pushed, which the game couldn't really handle because there were no safety valves built into the game when your opponent plays Eric's Cloning Gallery and then you're dead now. Like, you just couldn't do anything. You just died.
Right. Yeah.
So,
There's
yes,
no way to deal
with an
that.
asterisk.
Excellent points. Man, this is the most interesting pre-topic discussion we've had in a while.
That's really cool. Like I have heard people though complain before when Hearthstone gets too minion centric because they think it's not smart enough. Like
Combat's
that's
hard.
too easy
Combat's
to just
so
have
hard.
my minions and your minions and mine are faster or bigger or go wider or and that's just like dumbing down Hearthstone. And those people are the ones who like the ways to win that don't involve minions at all.
Right. Well, you want to do that once in a while, right? But not everything all the time. Like
Yeah.
a little bit, sure, but not everything all the time. And here's a question for you that I want to make sure I ask before we talk about power creep. How strong of a set was Rise of Shadow?
What was Rise of Shadows?
The one we just got, the one we're in now. Lackeys, Conjurers Calling,
It seemed pretty powerful.
bombs.
With those,
Yeah, I say that because I didn't play much of it.
Yeah.
Like I played Druid for a bit.
Yeah,
For a hot
Token
second.
Druid was.
Well,
Token
I
Druid
guess
was
to
good
your-
too.
to both your points, though, I think it was powerful because the Druid cards were good.
Mhm.
They were good cards. And people who like playing that tokeny kind of Druid stuff would tell you they're good, but they still weren't able to beat stuff like the Warrior cards and the Mage cards.
Well, here's what I think
just
is that
wasn't
they
able to-
weren't actually that great. They just didn't have a whole lot against them because it's the first set. And so there's not a lot of tools out there. There's not a lot of variety. There's not a lot of options. And they'll seem less and less powerful as more and more cards are added to the game.
They may.
I might be wrong about
Uh,
that, but it just felt very linear.
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
Token Druid. Like you didn't see any Token Druid in Specialist where you got 5-card sideboards because Token Druid's like, no, this is what I'm doing. I'm making tokens and then I'm attacking until one of us dies, and
Mhm.
that's it. That's all you do. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
other decks can sideboard more effectively, so Token Druid kind of didn't get represented well. And then nobody saw Token Druid being played on stream, so nobody decided to play Token Druid at home, even though the win rate is actually pretty decent. But it feels really bad to lose to Warriors, so people stop playing it. It's we have an optics problem right now in Hearthstone more than we have a variety of ladder problem because Specialist is the pits. So there's a lot of power there that we just haven't necessarily tapped into, and this new set I think is going to really shift how people perceive the meta, even as much as it's going to change it.
I've always
Interesting.
felt
Well-
that there were decks that were never made. Decks that
Yeah.
we never saw because people never
Mhm.
made them because it was like already figured out and people just net decked what was out there and followed what all the pros were playing and figured that was it. That smarter people than us made all of the decks and why would we try and make anything different? So I always got excited when someone was like, I'm going to theory craft a new thing, especially, someone like Firebad or the pros that were just trying out a brand new thing. Because I was like, yes, please. Like, I'm sure there's more out there
Well-
than we have. It's just no one's looking because they think it's already been solved.
I think that one of the things is that in the Hearthstone community at large, certainly not everywhere, but I think people are a lot more pragmatic than they are creative. You know what I mean? They'd rather just like look at the situation and say, all right, I'm playing this game to win because, I mean, if you're playing for have fun, what do you care about ladder, right? So if you're on the ladder, people are generally playing to win, but not necessarily trying to play the game to be creative and see what they can come up with. You know what I mean?
Unless you're a streamer.
And
I mean,
yeah, but
that
I think that's
you have to make interesting content.
that's I'm about to say that if you're sitting around and playing the game, 6, 7, 8 hours a day or more, you kind of have to look for new avenues to keep it interesting for yourself. So why not be creative?
Yeah, it's called
Because
team
just-
fight tactics.
I mean, yeah, I don't really
Yep.
want to play Hearthstone anymore. I'm just going to play this new game. I mean, that's just hype, right? I mean, it's
I play
probably a good
Destiny,
game, but
same thing.
it seems like it's a fad
It's a
at
good
the moment.
genre. We can talk about it. It's a good genre. I'm not surprised at all that competition in the space with good competitors is actually relevant. But also, well, we'll talk about it when we get to the format that they're going into. But people have always net decked from the pros. But the pros used to bring 4 classes per tournament, and now they bring 1 class per tournament, and then people are complaining there aren't enough decks.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's correlation.
There has to be.
Mm.
So shall we get into that next part of the news? Let's transition a little bit. So, Hat, I'm going to let you talk to this because you're the one that tends to follow more of the competitive scene. And while even I understand the concept, I think you are way more qualified to speak to it than we are. But so the big headline is Specialist format removed from Hearthstone Grandmasters Season 2. And the peasants rejoice. The munchkins sing a song. Everybody's super happy.
The witch is Ted. Long live Dorothy.
Yep.
So
And
I'll speak to this a
go
little
ahead.
bit here, just to make sure everybody is clear on what's going on. So, Specialist was a format that was originally started with Rise of Shadows with the first season of Hearthstone Grandmasters, which was the 48-player
Mhm.
pro invite-only format or tournament league that they played on a per-week basis, as well as the Masters Tour qualifiers, which fed into the first Masters Tour in Las Vegas. And Specialist
Mhm.
was pick one deck from one class, you lock in a second deck that's 5 cards different from the first deck, and a third deck that's also 5 cards different from the first deck. You get to sideboard. You get to change it a little bit into one of 3 configurations after the first game, and that means you get to, you have an anti-warrior deck, and you put in, like, Cairn and a bunch of other cards that give you late-game value, or you switch into, like, an anti-rogue deck, and you put in a bunch of weapon removal and minion removal and whatever. And so you got to play one class, and it was one deck only. It was meant to imitate Lattimore, and then you got to sideboard with it. And the
Mhm.
format was not popular. It was only played in tournament formats. It was a lot of mirror matches, a lot less deck diversity. I mean, before it was Conquest, which was you bring 4 decks, you ban one of your opponent's decks, they ban one of yours, and then you play until one player has won with all of their decks. I mean, everybody had to bring 4 different classes to a tournament, and you saw so much more variety.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Specialist was unpopular, and as a viewing experience, it was inconsistent. It was fine for the Masters Tour, but for all the filler Hearthstone, well, did either of you watch a lot of Grandmasters? I know the answer, but I'm asking anyway. No, I
No
didn't
time
think so.
for it.
I had the time, and I didn't either. So, it's like it was all of this was meant to be. It was based on the idea that more repetition built understanding because you saw the same people playing the same classes. But
Sure.
when you're done understanding it and the same stuff keeps happening, it's kind of hard to stay engaged. So instead,
Sure.
Grandmaster Season 2 is a new format. It's called Conquest with a Shield. We can also call it Conquest Sword and Shield if you like Pokemon. We can do that. So, it's similar to Old Conquest, but it's weirder. Way weirder. This is a
Mhm,
very
mhm.
strange format. So, both players bring 4 decks from 4 different classes. Then, you see each other's deck lists, and then you each get a shield. And you slap a shield in one of your decks and say, you can't ban this. That happens first.
Mhm.
Then, you each look at each other's decks. Of the 3 remaining non-shielded decks, you ban one. You say, you can't play that deck, and you can't ban my shield, and I can't ban your shield. And then, you play 3 games, and if you win with the deck, you can't play it anymore. But you might notice the math. Both players have 3 decks left, which would mean if you want to win with all of those decks, that's 5 games, right? But we're
Mhm.
only playing 3. So you don't have to win with each of your decks. You have to win with 2 of your decks. You don't even have to play the third one if you don't want to. So, original Conquest, which you skip the shield, and it's best of 5. You bring 4, you ban 1, you play out. You have to win with every single deck, which means if I have 4 decks and I bring them and I say, I want to beat their warrior, and only their warrior, and I don't care about their other decks, I'll ban whatever other deck of yours I want. You ban whatever deck of mine, but I have 4 decks that only beat warrior, that smash warrior. I know I'm playing against your warrior because you have to win with it, and I can lose the other 2 games, but then I beat you with 4 crazy anti-warrior decks. I bring Pogo Rogue and Cyclone Mage and like Lucent Bark Druid and whatever you want to do. Because you say, I only want to beat warrior. You can do that. In this format, you cannot do that. Because you can look at my decks and be like, whoa, those are all good against warrior. Guess I'll play my other 2. Oh, you lose.
Mhm.
And you also can't ban a specific strategy. You can't be like, okay, I'm going to play all really, really slow, greedy decks and then ban their one aggressive deck. No, because
Yeah.
if they look at your decks and say, wow, these are really slow decks, I can go fast, put that shield on your aggro deck, and you've got a game already. So this is actually an ingenious idea from Blizzard, because if your deck has to be kind of good against everything, and you can't specifically hard target, that means you want to bring 4 decks that have a good spread against the field. You know what's good against the field? Ladder decks.
Mhm.
They want
Yeah.
they want pros to bring 4 ladder capable cut and paste decks every single week to Grandmaster. So that people can go on the website and be like, ooh, that looks fun. Copy, paste, play, and they can win.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because Specialist or Old Conquest did not translate that well. You get some weird decks in Old
No.
Conquest because it was super about targeting. And then in Specialist, the decks look like they translated ladder, but really didn't because the sideboarding was so important. This is
Mhm.
just going to be 4 straight up ladder ready decks that you immediately put in your client and can win with no modification because they're intended to be kind of good against everything because you can't really target. And I think it is
Right.
brilliant.
And they
Absolutely
have to
brilliant.
be really good. Four decks, you said?
4 classes, yes.
4 classes, yeah. So that's going to see a lot more class. What's the right word?
Representation.
Yeah, representation. Thank you.
Visibility.
And also,
Yes.
if you are like a pro hunter, you can shield your hunter deck.
Yeah.
You can't, like, your opponent can't stop you from playing your favorite, your best, your most powerful thing you love playing because you can shield it and be like, no matter what, I'm going to get to play this thing that I'm really good at, which I love.
Yeah. And so if
Yeah.
a player with a more amateur background competes in a qualifier or some other tournament with this format, and they only have a few decks, but they really want to play one of them, they can do that every single round if they want to. And that's also really, really nice. So
They can
it's
shine.
It seems like it'd be more fun.
yeah. The rules are weird. They're hard to explain. Like, how long did it take us to explain this format? It's a little bit of a rigmarole to get through. Like, no, it's
Right.
Conquest, and you ban, but like not right away, and then you shield, but like don't play all your decks. It gets kind of weird, but I think
Mhm.
the format when you look through it is really cool. But the downside here, notice that the headline here, specials removed from Hearthstone Grandmaster Season 2. You know what it's not removed from?
Season
Masters
1?
Tour Seoul, the next Masters Tour, which is soon, in August, in fact.
Hmm.
Still special. And all the qualifiers going on right now for Bucharest through August 25th. Still special.
specialist.
So, you said the peasants rejoice, Grant, but the peasants are still eating the scraps, and the nobles now have moved on to the new food.
They need to get ready. They need to adjust.
Yeah.
They need to have time to roll it over.
Sure,
like
sure,
we all understand this, but it is hard when you know something way better is down the pipe to keep playing the old, boring,
Yeah.
not as fun stuff.
Well, like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
imagine if you watch the reveal stream today or look at the spoilers, and it's like, wow, this looks really fun. And then everybody else gets to start playing with them, and then you have to wait a month. And you're like pressed up against the glass just watching everybody, like Charlie and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You
So-
feel so bad for him.
But it's only a month, and it's still better than keeping Specialist by a huge margin. So I'm
Yeah,
glad they
we'll take
listened, and I'm glad they changed it. And this format's really cool, even though it's complicated. But there's some nuance here.
So what do you think? Do you think could potentially be the best format we've seen yet?
Define best, like
Meaning the most overall appreciated by community.
I
in-
would
in
say
a
the one
general
that
sense, at
translates
large.
the best to ladder, so that people who are playing
Yes.
ladder can actually use it to train for becoming a pro, and also ways to create decks that people on ladder want to play. So they want to watch and then play the decks that they see.
yeah. In terms of that, absolutely. In terms of ladder translation, this is basically tailor made for that, and I think that is where it is the best. But what I've liked about past Conquest formats, which I've played, and also past Last Hero Standing formats, which I've played, which is it's Last Hero Standing, you have 4 decks and you ban one the same way you do with Conquest, but if you win with the deck, you keep playing it, and if you lose with the deck, you can't play it anymore. So it's very
Just the
different. 'Cause-
opposite.
yeah, so Conquest is about targeting, and Last Hero Standing is about having a counter queue all the time, but also the strategy of if you win with the deck, you're locked into still playing it. That's also really different because that has it takes out the randomness of the queue order. You know what you're coming up against, so it becomes very, very strategic very quickly, which I think that is a format that a lot of really high-level pros like. I was really bad at it, so I never cared for it. But what I've liked about Conquest in the past is that if ladder isn't super fun to play, Conquest is usually pretty different because of how the format works. Like when mid-range Shaman was the deck, and you both remember this, when Tuskar Totemic got you the Totem Golem. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I loved every
Yeah.
second of it. I wish we
Yeah,
could go
I
back.
banned that every single week. Ban it. Take it out of the game. But, like, you could do that. You could say, wow, mid-range Shaman's way too good. Take it out of the game, and then you have so much more interesting Hearthstone right underneath that. And Conquest was really, really good, even though ladder wasn't as fun at the time. This is going to be still dependent on Blizzard nerfing and buffing quickly, but they've, like you said, Grant, they've shown more of a willingness to do that. If they stick with that, then yes, this will be great. Absolutely, this will be great.
Yeah. And I think that's the Hearthstone world I'd rather live in. I'd rather live in a world where let's see if we can live in the realm of the art of the possible for a while. And when we realize that maybe we've made a mistake, it's like, oh, I'm just kidding, guys. Let's nerf this, change that. Because why not? especially with all the talk of potentially releasing mid expansion cards and some of the stuff like they did with the adventures and stuff like that. I think that a constant, I'm going to say like a shimmering vibrancy in what every week or month of Hearthstone could look like, I think really is going to keep, especially people who are dug in like myself and you guys, like interested, something changing. Like I'm good with change. I like change because that's why I play Wild, because you never know what you're going to get.
Oh yeah.
The crazy stuff. And so that's just me. And I know not everybody's like that, but I think if that's the direction they're looking at going, then I'm, sign me up. Sign me up for another 5-10 expansions and, thousands of dollars down the road. So,
or at least hundreds. At least hundreds.
Well, I mean, fluidity is good, right? Because if you're going to depend on the cards keeping me interested in the game instead of adding more game modes, you better do a lot with my cards. But Mike Danaeus on Reddit this week responded to a comment asking for classic set priest buffs by saying that's a pretty reasonable ask. We might be getting closer to classic buffs.
Whoa.
Right?
Has that even ever happened? I can't think.
It has
Not
ever
classic,
happened.
but
No.
we have had card buffs now for the first time. So,
but not classic buffs, yes?
No,
No.
not classic buffs.
Yeah.
But we have a very, very uneven classic set, and they've taken the strategy for a little while of just make everything as bad as priest. But now, like, maybe we take priest and make it as good as old druid or somewhere in the middle. Like, maybe we meet in the middle of a nice, like, what's a good neutral class? Like hunter. Maybe we all meet at hunter's level. Like, we all, some of us come down to hunter, some of us come up to hunter, some of us are right there already, and we all hang out there. Maybe that's where we need to be.
there are some cards that are universally bad in priest, and there are some that are Northshire cleric.
Yeah. It's priest gets a 1/3, and then they get to give it +2 health and draw a card, and then that's the end of their classic set. That's it.
Oh, okay. Point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Guys, I've waited long enough. I want to look at some new cards.
All right. Keep the ball rolling. All right, Eve, because you said it, you get to kick it off. I guess we're gonna just kind of run down the legendaries first because those are the ones that everybody they think they care about it the most, but maybe they ought not to. But we'll see. Let's find out. Eve, what's the first one?
I know I should save my dessert for last, but you know what? I think I'm just gonna jump right into it and talk about Zephyrus the Great.
Zephyrus the Great.
There's been a lot of
Zephyrus
buzz
the Great
on Twitter about this already. 2 mana, neutral, legendary, elemental, 3 attack, 2 health. Battle cry: if your deck has no duplicates, wish for the perfect card. Now, apparently the way this is supposed to work is the AI will look at the board state and the game state and suggest to you cards that you can choose from that would help in your particular situation.
Yeah, so it uses
What?
not quite machine learning, but they were talking about it on stream. You can do a bunch of things with this card because what it does, it looks at the game state. Now they described a few of these things. If your opponent is Jiraxis, it will get you Sacrificial Pact. If it sees a Doomsayer, then it will get you a Crazed Alchemist. It will always calculate lethal, even if you haven't calculated lethal. Sometimes you might get a Leroy or Fireball or a Savage Roar. They did it on stream today, where Kibler's opponent had 2 minions with health over 4, so he attacked into both of them, set all their health to 4, with 9 mana, played this 2 mana card, and got a Flame Strike, an Ancient of War, and a Brawl. So the Flame Strike was perfect. And you can play it. You can play other cards before it because it looks at how much available mana you have left and tries to pick a card you can play that turn. So you can play cards before it if you want to nudge that down for the following turn, or you can play this first if you want to play something right away. It's a magic 8-ball that looks at your game. Now, it only looks at public information. It counts cards in both players' hand, but it does not know what either of them are, including your own. It looks at minions on the board. It looks at mana available. And it has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of situations. I asked Celestalon on Twitter, who has a great big thread about it, and he said that the rules are kind of preset. This is not dynamic. It doesn't learn over time. It's not like it plays more games in this meta. It knows what it's looking for. It's only from Classic and Basic, but it has a bunch of scenarios where it will try and tailor-make the cards that you see, which are not class-specific, can be any card in Classic or Basic, to what you need.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
got to be one of the most incredible things design-wise I've ever heard of.
I asked them how many hours they put into making the card, and I didn't get an answer, but I'm guessing a lot. Guessing a whole
Oh,
lot.
the coding of that. Just the coding on that one card.
It's got to be
That
pretty
is
insane.
incredible.
But this
That's got to
was-
be a day one craft.
You watched the Amazing LP video, right?
Yes.
This is the lamp. This is the lamp.
It's just, I feel like it's a step up from them making the decks. Like that button where you just make a deck and it makes one for you. It's like another step in here. This is what you need. This is what you should be playing. So it's kind of like a discover. Is that what you saw? That it gives you 3 options?
Yes.
Or it gives you
3 options.
Yeah.
So you choose one.
So it is a discover card without the specific tag of the
Yeah, so it
mechanic on
shows
it.
you 3 cards. It's discover style, but it's not discover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And honestly, I think
creates
people are so
cards.
used to seeing 3 cards, right? They're so used to seeing 3 cards
Yeah.
that's not going to surprise anybody. Wow.
Yeah.
That's day one, man. That's a day one craft, I think, if just for the kicks and the giggles of it. I mean, because you got to play for fun too, right?
And it's neutral, which I love. It's available to everybody. Everyone can have fun with this and see how good it is. Get yog with it.
Yeah.
Well,
Get
if you're
yoggy with
down
it.
to your last card and you're like, Hail Mary pass, let's see what it gives me that might be able to pull this out.
But also it's not like it's a Hail Mary because it's deterministic, right? You know what you're going to at least it knows what you're going to see. And so pro players were talking about if you play this enough times, enough scenarios, you know what it's going to give you and you can play around that. Because they played it on turn 2 3 times or twice on the stream. And it was Brightwing Wild Growth Animal Companion every time. Because if it's on turn 2, those are the 3 cards that it thinks are the best ones to play on 3. So this is solvable. You can figure out what it's going to give you, and that's kind of cool as well. There are so many game situations that it looks at. You probably can't say this is exactly what we're going to see, but you can get a ballpark.
Damn,
Explaining
that's
that
just-
almost makes it less exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I want random genie coming out of a lamp and just granting my wish. That's what I want. It reminds me of Khadgar in the adventure when you choose him and he sometimes
the
helps
wondrous, you. Yeah.
The wondrous, what is it?
The wondrous ball of wonder.
Ball of awesomeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly. All right, Grant, your turn. What do you want?
My turn. All right, let's see here. Well, so let's talk about the new Warlock Legendary. Let's talk about Dark Pharaoh Tikan. It is a 5-cost 4/4 minion. Reads Battle Cry. For the rest of the game, your lackeys are 4/4. So of course everybody was like, "Oh, Quest Rogue and Warlock, blah," and there's a little bit of apoplectic behavior, I think, honestly.
It's not like
but
that at all.
I think it's a lot. It's different, right? Because only the lackeys are 4/4, not every card in your, in the game, not Stone Tusk Wars and stuff like that. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it has a lot of potential because we've seen that lackeys are good. We've seen that they're not terribly difficult to get, and being able to drop a 1-cost 4/4 is pretty good. What do you guys think?
Well, is there a foolproof way to draw this? Because if not, it could just be at the bottom of your deck and you never draw it. And then what? You have an entire deck built around this and all you have is lackeys? Are you filling your entire deck with lackeys? Or is this just like a plus? If you draw it, you draw it. And you're already running a zoo deck because Warlock does that well. Because they can draw and buff. And lackeys are pretty decent. And this is just like if you draw it, you might just win now.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking over this card, honestly.
No, I don't think it's a panicking card, but I find it incredibly interesting that they wanted to look at that mechanic again, but sort of a more fair way, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Hat?
So I have the dream is we slam this on turn 5, then we just play a bunch of 4/4s till our opponent dies. Warlock has 3 lackey generators. One is the new 1-mana spell, Sinister Deal, which discovers 1 lackey for 1 mana. One is Evil Cable Rat, which is kind of mediocre. And one is Evil Recruiter, which is a known good card. It's the 2-mana 2/2 that eats a thing and puts 2 lackeys in your hand. How many 1-mana 4/4s are you going to get? When are you going to play them? And are they going to matter? As opposed to not playing a 5-mana 4/4 first and just playing a better card there.
True story.
It's you have to have a lot of lackeys, and 4/4 has to be a really relevant size for this to matter. And I don't know if either of those things are true.
Yeah.
So, it's you could play it. I could see it, but it's for 5 mana you should be getting like a 5/6. You get your money back in the first lackey, but to make a profit you have to play 2. And remember that Warlock doesn't do a great job at being it doesn't do a great job being anything right now. But in particular, what Warlock is trying to be right now is fast. And this card is not.
Not fast. You know what would be better?
So,
If this said demons instead of lackeys.
sure.
True.
All your imps are now 4/4s?
Yeah,
all
but
your
then also you're
worthless
shrinking
imps?
all your big stuff. Shrinking any big demons, which we don't have a ton of big demons anyway. We're like, no one's playing Warlock right now except for Magic Carpet Zoo, and this card would be fine in Magic Carpet Zoo, but that deck is not really looking to slow down. So, I don't know. I would be curious if there's a shell that really takes advantage of this, but it feels like this card would belong in Shark Rogue or something, and Warlock just feels like kind of an odd place for it.
That's why it's
It does seem odd.
It's
Yeah.
just I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with it. Like, I feel like I should look at a card that has this kind of effect. Like, wow, that's really cool. Here's what I'm going to do. And I'm still just thinking, how do we make this work? And I don't really have a good answer.
That's fair. All right, Hat, what's one you would like to talk about?
So,
Pick from the array.
are we picking from these legendaries, or are we picking from any cards?
You can pick from anything you want to talk about.
Anything you want.
Okay. Well, I have a list.
That way.
You came prepared.
I did. So, I'm going to talk about Swarm of Locusts. This is a hunter spell. 6 mana. Summon 7/1/1 Locust with Rush. They are beasts. What do you all think of Swarm of Locusts? And it's
But
not a
it
plague.
should have been a
even though
plague
Locust,
card, right?
Locust but plagues in Hearthstone are defined as being universal, even though Locust, if I recall, under more classical definitions of plague, was pretty visible. It was a pretty known plague.
Yeah, that's why I kind of hoped that when they made the plagues, they would all kind of be biblical. And Swarm of Locusts is like clear example of what a good plague would have been. But maybe it
pretty
underwent like a lot of iterations and they ended up with this. 7/1/1 Locust with Rush in Hunter. Now, I'm guessing, and I actually think that it's confirmed, that the Locusts are beasts. So you have 7/1/1 beasts with Rush.
Yes, for 6 mana. And also, we should not really talk about this card without talking about the Hunter Quest. The Hunter Quest kind of important here. We'll dovetail. We'll do a 2-for-1. 2-for-1. So
2-for-1. Go.
The
right.
Hunter Quest is Unseal the Vault. The quest is summon, not play, summon 20 minions. 20 is a lot. The reward is Ramkashen Roar, or Ramkahen or something Roar.
Ramha.
And it's your hero power becomes 2 mana, give your minions a permanent +2 attack. So your hero power becomes a Savage Roar that stays. Now, if you cast Swarm of Locusts with that hero power and you press the button, that's 7 3/1s with Rush. That's pretty good. But 20 minions is a lot.
You
It's a
don't
lot.
have to target one minion?
It's
That hero power?
It's Savage Roars. It's your entire board. All your minions get a permanent +2 attack buff.
Yikes.
But it's 20 minions. 20. 2-0 to get that reward. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
A lot.
The question is, are you going to even be able to get there in a reasonable amount of time before you're dead?
What are you going to do with it? But then if you get there, all of your minions become really, really scary really fast. It's the quest, I think, is a lot of work. If you're playing the quest, you're playing this card. I think you cannot play the quest without this card in your deck. You're playing Swarm of Locusts. If you were playing, if you want to summon 20 minions and this is a third of that, you're like, okay, well, I obviously want to do that. And 6 mana deals 7 divided as I choose, pretty good. Or like, if I have a Scavenging Hyena in play, this is obviously really good. If I have 8 mana, I can play this, attack once, then play Hyena, and then it gets really big.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of minions. And the thing about Swarm of Locusts, and the thing that I realized today, and the reason why I think the card is outside of specifically the quest deck, which might be a trap by itself, is probably not worth playing, because there's a hunter card that's really good. You all may know it. It's called Zul'jin. Zul'jin's a very good card. And you know what Zul'jin does right now is it fills your board with 5/5s and 4/2s and other cool minions that do stuff. You know what happens if you cast Swarm of Locusts first?
You get nothing.
None of that stuff. You don't get any of your 5/5. You
Yeah,
get 1/1.
that's a good call.
And 5/5s are bigger than 1/1. That's just math. So, I've been thinking about this card for a while, and it seems like it might be appealing, but the quest is tricky because you have to do so much work for it, and then you have to keep making minions for it to matter. That's kind of tough. But also, then you could like unleash the hounds and make like 5 minions, and then like pay an extra 2 mana, and your opponent takes 15, and that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It seems to me that it'll matter what the meta's like, because if Hunter is up against a lot of minion-centric decks, then Hounds will be a lot easier to get like a full board of 7. And then that's 14. Gosh, that's still not there.
It takes a while. You could play Mad Summoner, which is the 6 mana card that fills both sides of the board with 1/1 imps, and I believe they both count. So that could theoretically be 14. But then also, you're filling your opponent's board with 1/1s and then saying go, which is kind of questionable. And then you're assuming that you're going to need 14 minions to get in line on turn 6, and it's like, why are you doing this instead of other hunter decks? And I don't really have a good answer for that. I don't know if there's an answer for why should I do this instead of the other 4 good hunter strategies.
True story. All right, Eve, what's next?
I was actually looking at Hyena Alpha because of wondering if that would be worth it to try and make the quest work. 4 mana, 3/3 beast. Battlecry, if you control a secret, summon 2/2 hyenas. Seems super strong.
So let's do some math real quick. What's 3/3 plus 2/2 plus 2/2?
7/7.
And how much does it cost, Grant?
4.
So it's a 4 mana what?
7/7.
7/7.
4
If you
mana,
have
7/7?
a secret, if you control a secret.
Yes. But it's a 4 mana
Which
7/7.
It's not hard to have a secret.
It's a lot better than a 4 mana 7/7 because it's split out between 3 bodies.
Yeah.
You can just like immediately kill that one 7/7, but this is a lot harder. And also beasts, which synergize with Hunter's things. Like, this is a super powerful card.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, this card good. This good card. Put in deck.
And it's a rare. I mean, as if Hunter needed stuff like this. Like, Secret Hunter is good now.
It's
Secret
fine
Hunter's
now.
been good for a long time,
It's fine.
It's been a reasonably strong deck for a long time, and I think this gives it just another tool. I'd be interested to know what our Hunter friends, like Sid, Sidisi, and whatnot would think of it. They probably love it. I'm sure they do. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's basically any card that basically is costed decently and summons other things to go with it is almost always good.
Yeah, it's just a rate proposition, and the rate here is really, really strong. Keeping a secret the turn before you play this is a little tricky, but not too tricky, especially if you have Rat Trap. Rat Trap's real good with this card because people are going to play around Rat Trap and they're going to test for other secrets. And it's like, gotcha, I have a 4 mana 7/7.
And if you could get Ramkahen Wild Tamer off before this, and this was the only beast in your hand, then you get 2 of them.
Yeah.
And Eve, what's Ramkahen Wild Tamer?
It's a 3 mana 4/3 that reads Battlecry, copy a random beast in your hand.
Oh.
So then all of a sudden, the next turn 4, you put down Hyena Alpha, and then turn 5, you put down another one.
That would be 2 4 mana 7.
Seems good.
Yes.
Seems real good.
It's I feel like that if I paid 4 mana for this, I am getting my money's worth or mana's worth.
I mean, it also seems like that could get your quest off, but do you even want to? Because this is just good on its own without a quest.
Yeah, like the best quest in Hearthstone that we all start with is The quest objective is remove 30 life totals points from your opponent, and then the reward is you win the game. And this
Yeah.
card is
Yeah.
really good at that quest. Really, really great at it.
Yes. Yeah, it's very good at it.
So I think I gave up my turn to say 2 hunter cards. So you can go ahead, Grant.
Okay, so I like this card is interesting to me, and I think it's really good. It's called the Spitting Camel, and the Spitting Camel. I know it's like a camel that's mean mugging you, like hey, I pity the fool kind of thing. And he just got bigger on my show notes.
That's
So
awesome.
Spitting Camel is a excuse me, is a common 2-cost 2/4 beast minion, and it reads at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to another random friendly minion. So
I love the flavor.
I like this
so
card.
much.
Yeah, it's just the mean mugging camel. It's my favorite. So a 2/3 is a good statted minion, right? A 2/3 for 2, it's going to do some trading for you. This one is, to slap it down on turn 2, you're going to get the value out of it. It's a very good value card. And if you happen to run any of those kind of pesky cards that need damage to be amazing, it can really help you here. So I think this is a good 2-drop to put in hunter decks, possibly. Unless you're running a bunch of like weenie tokeny kind of stuff, then it's not so good. But anything that can take a hit, I think it's good. What do you guys think?
I just love the idea of it, like at the end of the turn, turning around and spitting at one of your other minions. It's just
It's a very particular flavor. Well, I mean, I don't know what flavor the spit is, but the camel is a very particular flavor. And it's a
Ugh.
beast, and like you could play Acolyte of Pain on turn 3, and that seems okay.
Mhm.
There are ways for this to be an upside instead of a downside. Frothing Berserker comes to mind. There are a bunch of cards that like being damaged in small increments. I don't know where I'd play it now, but a 2-mana 2/4 that doesn't really have any restrictions to use it is a good rate. No, it doesn't have taunt or anything, but like you can just attack with it twice, and that's pretty good. And the flavor text. You want to hear the flavor text?
Yes.
What is it?
What is the flavor text?
Were you expectorating another bad pun?
Oh gosh. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
I got one.
that gets this one.
Oh, Blizzard. Okay, Hat, you're up.
All right, what's next?
All right, what do I got here? What do I got? Ancient Mysteries. Ancient Mysteries is a 2-mana common mage spell. Draw a secret from your deck. It costs 0. I am glad that Ice Block is gone. I am glad. I am very grateful. I am appreciative that it is not in standard with this card. And there are a bunch of mage secret enabled cards. There's Sunreaver Spy, which is in the current set, which is a 2-mana 2/3. It gets +1/+1 if you control a secret. There's also Arcane Flak Mage, which is a 2-mana 3/2, where if you control a secret, deal 2 to all of the enemy minions. Or Cloud Prince, which is a 5-mana 4/4. If you control a secret, deal 6 damage to a target. You can play this in turn 2. Hold on to that 0-mana secret. Play whenever you are ready to play the Secret Matters card, and then you get instant guaranteed synergy. That's pretty cool. You are able to go get the new Flame Word card, which is the new secret, 3 mana. After your hero's attack, deal 3 damage to all enemy minions, which is a really good card. You can have that live on turn 2 if you want, or you can just like go get it, because if you only play that secret, this is guaranteed to go get that secret, which I don't know if that's what you want to do, but you could do it, and it's very consistent. And
Sure.
Drawing a card and making it free for 2 mana is just kind of good. It's kind of a good thing to do. What do you all?
I wonder about it though, because I mean, you have a deck slot you're using. You're putting a card just to draw a secret, so it tutors it, right? Which effectively you're paying 2 mana for a secret to have now. So it seems good, right? Because secrets are good if you can use them kind of at your discretion. But I guess you still have to kind of pull that card to pull the secret. So I'm wondering if it'll see play or not, because it does eat up a deck slot.
Yeah. Well, and the question is, do you want to play secrets right now? And I don't have a good answer for that, because
No.
I don't know if we do. Now, at the same time, a 0-mana secret is another spell for Mana Cyclone, or you can play this in the same turn that you play a Mana Cyclone, and that's 2 spells for 2 mana, which is a pretty good deal. And if you have Sorcerer's Apprentice, it's only 2 spells for 1 mana, which is a pretty good deal.
Mhm.
It's, but to answer the question of do we want to play secrets, I don't know. I'm not sure. Kind
Yeah.
of thinking no.
And do we want to play them so much that we're going to draw it from our deck and put a card in just to do that?
If we're putting secrets in our deck, we need a reason to do it other than the secret is good, unless it's like specifically explosive runes, because that was just damage, right? That was 3 mana. Your opponent takes some amount of damage, and the minion takes some amount of damage. It was just too good of a deal. But most of their secrets are especially mage ones, are kind of specific. They're kind of meant to do something, so you need to want to do something.
Yeah, it was like, if you have a secret in play, then you can do this, like do damage. That card that if you have a secret in play, you do 6 damage, things like that. So I want to be sure that I have a secret, and then if there's a secret in play, it buffs my creature, or if I cast a secret, it buffs my creature. So that's the kind of deck. Which we do have a couple of cards that synergize with that.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna have to wait and see.
Like, I think, and my closing thought on this, so we can get through all these other cards, is if Secret Mage is a deck, I don't see it being built without this card, but I don't know if Secret Mage is a deck. So if it weren't for this card, it wouldn't be for sure. As of right now, I'm still not sure, but it needed this if it was to even be talked about.
In Wild, it might have a chance. You know what I mean? Because if you think about it,
I wonder what it's going to go get. What's it going to go get, Grant? Going to be Ice Block?
It's going to get Ice Block again. It doesn't. In Secret Mage, it doesn't matter, right? Because all the you put just all the busted one in, and especially if it's going to get Flame Ward, that's great because that kills a lot of decks in Wild right now. All the Murloc decks, all the Paladin decks.
Yeah,
I think
or
it's pretty
explosive runes.
Yeah, there's in Wild, it's probably a much better card, and it's interesting though. I don't know if sort of as a broader comment, I've looked because I play a lot of Wild. In fact, I probably play more Wild than Standard these days. But I look at these cards and I think, oh gosh, that's that's awful. And I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Using an Ice Block. Talked about Ice Block and it went off.
Yeah,
Grant, you popped your Ice Block.
Are you back? Are you here?
And am I back?
Yes, you are.
Good. Okay. So what I was saying, although the recording will say what I was saying, was in Wild, a lot of these cards are actually, they ramp it up a lot. Like just being able to trigger things more often. And in fact, we'll talk about a card that does that in a minute. But I think the secret stuff makes Secret, because Secret Mage is a good deck in Wild. If you know how to pilot it and you get decent draws, you can get to Legend with it. So I think that those 2 cards could potentially make it better. The question is what do you sub out for it right now? Because those decks have been around long enough to be good. So we'll leave that up to the people that are constantly theory crafting. So let's see. Eve, what is up next?
King Pharos?
Like Pharaoh, Pharos?
Pharaoh.
Pharos.
King Ferris.
King Ferris.
There we go.
Like Ferris medals.
King Ferris. Yeah. 10 mana, 5/5, battle cry. For each spell in your hand, summon a random minion of the same cost.
This is the Clown Fiesta. He brings his own clowns. He brings his own fiesta. It's just like you play this and like, ugh.
Naga Sand Witch. Battle cry. Change the cost of spells in your hand to 5.
That's a separate card.
It is. It's a mage card. It's a 5 mana 5/5. What do you think? So, if all of the spells in my hand cost 5, and then I summon a random minion of the same cost, is that good?
I think that makes the Clown Fiesta clownier. I think it makes it. That's a hard one because if you're, let's think about mage spells. Like, what mage spells are you going to have late in the game that if you haven't already used them? That's what makes it tricky because, if you have not Pyroblast, if you have Flame Strikes and Blizzards and Meteors and Luna's Pocket Galaxy, which you likely wouldn't have at turn 10, if you have all those in your hand, by turn 10, aren't you already kind of winning? because you haven't had to use them to stay alive?
Well, don't forget the Mage Quest, right? The Mage Quest, which I think was revealed last week, which
Mhm.
every single turn it gets you a random mage spell and reduces its cost by 2. You can juice back up. And then if you want to
Oh,
go
yeah.
completely goofy with King Ferris, then you can just like juice back up and put your handful of random junk and then be like, army in a box. Clown Fiesta, let's go. And
Could
King,
also
King Ferris
go
is
ahead.
neutral.
I'm sorry. He is neutral, which makes me wonder. Let's see. What the other classes that play big spells are Druid,
Priest.
right?
Priest.
And Druid.
Yes.
Priest would do well with this too.
You can play
So
so
it
many
seems-
9-mana spells right now. You can play Xerix Cloning Gallery, you can play Plague of Death, you can play Mass Resurrection. But then you're a priest with a bunch of 9-mana spells and you're dead in turn 6. So like, I don't know. King Ferris isn't going to work very well there.
Well,
Yeah, that's
I mean, it might be outside of the
Hmm.
box, but Druid does have a bunch of 8-mana spells right now that they use in their repeatedly fill the board over and over and over and over again decks.
yeah.
Well, and
And
there's
they
a bunch of
have,
new Druid spells. There's Overflow, which is a new 7-mana spell, and you can actually ramp into this, and theoretically, just a big old pile of random stuff is good.
Yeah.
I mean, this
I
is a
think-
meme card. It's a for fun card. It's not in any way a good card.
Oh, I don't know. I think the King Ferris has potential because it's a swing card, right? So if the game is sort of at parity, and you're like, all right, King Ferris, what you gonna do now?
Yeah, but
You
you
know what I mean?
already said if you are at a place where you have a whole bunch of high mana spells in your hand, it's not at parity. You're already winning. Why are you holding those huge
Yeah.
spells in your hand? If you have
'Cause you can only
Pyroblast
play
in your
one a
hand,
turn.
just hit them in the face and kill them with it.
But if your deck is a slow control deck and they're at 30 and you can Pyroblast them down to 20, it's you play this card if you're expecting to be bottlenecked on mana for most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your deck is all big expensive stuff and then you play one big expensive thing a turn and draw one expensive thing a turn, even if you're playing one every single turn, by turn 10 your hand's still full of big expensive stuff, and then you're like, okay, I have stuff. But
Yeah.
but you'd also have to be a mage that's committing on being slow. And mages right now would rather play 3 mana 8/8s and then copy them for 3 more mana. And this is not better than that. This is not in
No.
the same ballpark as that. This is
No.
T-ball and that's Major League. Like you can't really say I would rather have a board of random minions on turn 10 based on how clunky my hand is, as opposed to I'd rather build a deck that is custom made to make a bunch of 8/8s whenever I want. So context dependent regardless. This card looks fun, and I do expect the majority of the plays that it sees is to be generated off of Conjurer's Calling on Sea Giants. I think that is the majority of play we'll see it in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it is a 10 mana 5/5.
Yes.
That's
So it
nice.
weakens
That
Conjurers
makes
a
me
bit.
happy.
A bit.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple other 10 drops in the set that'll make you less happy, but yes, enjoy this one. Enjoy this one. It's very enjoyable.
Well, and somebody tweeted today about, hey, look what you can get out of Conjurer's Calling on 10, and that would be Living Monument, which is a 10 cost 10/10 minion with taunt.
Yes.
So you could get Pharaoh, or you could get that one. So
Or Colossus of the Moon, a 10 mana 10/10 with Divine Shield and Reborn.
daggone shoot.
There's some ups and downs here. There's some ups and
tangible.
downs.
Tangible.
Could get a 5/5, or you could get a 10/10 that when you're calling it, you still keep the 10/10, or at least a 10/1. There's a lot going on here. But I think King Ferris it's fun. If it ever ends up being good, that means the format is so slow.
Yeah, which I'm not sure if that's good for the game or not.
Well, I thought maybe you could play Octosari first, get 8 cards, and then when you drop it, you have a chance of having a lot of spells in your hand, even if you didn't before.
I think most plans are effective if they start with draw 8 card. If you do that, you can do a lot of stuff in Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And it's a neutral. 8 mana 8/8 beast, death rattle, draw 8 cards.
I'm going to play that with the Rogue Legendary Eve. It's going to be a 1/1 for 1. That's what I'm going to do with that card.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I'm going to do there. I think it's a great 1/1 for 1 death rattle draw 8 card.
Better
Yep.
sprint.
That's a good deal. It's 2
Mhm.
sprints. It's 2 sprints and an octopus.
That's like destroying a city. It's like a kraken.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, when I saw this art, I was like, a kraken in the middle of a desert? What?
Maybe he lives under the sand. Maybe he doesn't need water.
Well, I mean,
it's
Uldum is
very
kind of
very
right next to the
MTG,
sea.
right?
sort
I
of
mean,
forgot that.
MTG
He
has
does
all
have
kinds
a-
of cards with these giant beasts, like just like billowing into a town. You know what I mean, or a city.
And you're like, where did they come from?
What is this thing? Is this a kraken? Is this like a cousin of a kraken? Is there? No, it looks.
Is a
those
kraken
suction
an
cups are-
octopus? Is that what a kraken is? Just like a really, really big octopus? Because if that is the case, then
Squid-ish
yeah,
octopus
this
it
is a
could be.
kraken.
Could be. He looks mad.
He does not look.
Well,
happy.
the funny thing is like they have the banner of the name just cutting off the terrified. Looks a four-fingered guy that we see his
I
mohawk
think
and
it's
his
a
hand.
troll.
But we
Seems
don't see
like
anything
a-
else about it. It's just like, hey, where's the
No.
rest of that guy? My first thought with this card was Treachery Warlock, and I'm going to try and mill you, so like a mill Warlock kind of thing. I was like,
oh,
give
so
it to your
you wanna-
opponent.
so you wanna
and
give it
then
away?
kill it.
yeah, I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to kill it with some cheap Warlock removal spell. You're going to overdraw your deck or something like
You
that.
could do that. That is doable.
Yeah, and the cost is
evil,
low
Grant.
enough where why the heck not? Let's see here. Hat. Pick a card. Any card.
I'm gonna pick a rogue card as I am known.
Oh,
to do
yeah.
location. Clever Disguise. 2-mana spell. And let me make sure I get the wording exactly right because the wording is very important. Add 2 random spells from another class to your hand. So the 2 spells are always from the same class. They're always not rogue,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs 2 mana. Now, the rogue quest, which we should also talk about, which is very, very important for the context of this card because I think you're basically never playing this card if you're not in the rogue quest. Rogue quest is Bizarre Burglary, which is... Oh, I made that too big in the show notes. It is 1 mana. Add 4 cards from another class to your hand is the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Total.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And the reward, 2 mana, equip a 3/2 weapon that gives you immune while you are attacking. So
So you can attack for days. Gosh dang.
yeah, well, I mean, you can attack once a turn, approximately, about once a turn.
But having a 2/2 weapon with the
3/2.
because of Baku was great.
yes,
Having a 3/2 with immune anytime I
but
want.
you got
This
the
is
2/2
just like
weapon.
stupidly easy to do for rogue, though.
It is now because of Clever Disguise. Before Clever
Mhm.
Disguise, this was difficult. With
Mhm.
Clever Disguise, the card we're talking about now, it is fairly easy to do. With Odd
Mhm.
Rogue, you got that dagger on turn 2 every time, and we know where that dagger was going. Face.
Mm-hmm.
Right to the face.
Mm-hmm.
But so this deck, you have to play probably Pilfer, definitely Clever Disguise, probably Blink Fox, and probably Hench Clan Burglar. And Blink Fox doesn't work in the mirror. So that is 9 deck slots to burgling because the quest and the 8 burglar. That's a lot of cards that aren't aggressive. So you're probably not using that weapon to just kill your opponent in the face when they're already taking a bunch of damage. I think that's a different deck. This is straight up a burgle deck that has a nice board control mechanism and, long game relevant hero power. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
In Clever Disguise, it activates it very quickly. It gets Vendetta online, gets Underbelly Fence online, but spells from another class are of questionable value to your deck, which is not built to take advantage of them, and minions have much more value because the game's about minions. You can steal whatever minion you want from whatever class. It might not be good for you. You can at least play it and do something. But if you steal Shield Slam, nice. Enjoy that dead card in your hand. It's a combo activator, I guess. Or if you steal Brawl and your deck has a bunch of minions, you probably don't want to play it. So there's a bunch of ways this could go. The spells are much more likely to clog your hand. And they're much less likely to be useful for tempo, but they are going to enable your quest. So if you are all in on the quest, you can go ahead and play this card. If you are an aggressive deck, you probably should not put this in your deck, and you should probably think twice about including the quest.
Did you say Bizarre Mugger?
I did. The 5 mana 3/5 with Rush and Battlecry add a minion from another class to your hand. And I do like that. Because I think it's not Ziliax, but what is Ziliax? But it fits the same niche.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little on the slower side, but it's 3 damage and you get something. So if you make it turn 5 and you're planning on going full value, I do think you play Bazaar Mugger as well. I'm just not sure if we want to be going full value, or if we just want exactly 4 cards and then start hitting people with a weapon. Interesting to think about. And also, there's another rogue card, Pharaoh's Cat, which was announced this set, which is a 1-mana 1/2, which 1-mana 1/2s are very exciting because they're almost always, if they generate value, worth seeing play. It's like a Firefly. It's like a Fire Cat.
Fire Cat.
And it puts a random minion with Reborn in your hand. And that's a much smaller pool that is much more likely to be useful to a rogue. And some of those are class cards. So that could also easily be a trigger, and it's still a 1-mana 1/2 that draws you a card. And that card, I think, is excellent. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of Pharaoh Cat.
Yeah, Pharaoh
And
Cat.
it has good art.
It's so cute, but also like kind of evil looking.
Yeah. Like those Siamese cats from The Lady and the Tramp.
That try to like hurt the baby.
But it's got a little tongue sticking out, and like,
But the eyes.
But the
Yeah, the eyes say do not touch. Oh boy, man.
Does anyone else feel kind of confused by the art of Clever Disguise? I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Yes, I've been staring at it now since Hat started talking about it, and I keep thinking to myself, okay, it's like a fox kind of thing. But I can't tell like the proportion of the body, and
it's almost like one half of it is sort of disappearing into void, like it's going purple and disappearing.
That's the clever part.
It's
the fox thing is not a fox thing. It's trying to appear as not a fox thing. It's wearing like a Dalaran robe or whatever, and that's what's covering up the fox, and it's disappearing or appearing. Maybe he's putting it on. I don't know. And I guess that's the clever part.
I see it now. It's just I was having a hard time thinking about
because
I was looking in a way I wasn't meaning to, because the part of the fox is becoming invisible. Yeah, and so that looks like
it's an action shot, and we're like halfway through. This should be like 4 comic book panels, and we have one of them.
Pretty much.
Because I do want to say, like, the art has been on point with every card that I've seen. This is the first one that I was kind of like, it's not quite hitting it for me. Like, just being able to look at the card and immediately have an idea of the flavor of it, and yeah, it's just a little off.
It's too clever.
Yeah. It's possible. It happens.
I'm just going to say Bug Collector for the art.
Where is Bug Collector? I want to look.
Bug Collector.
Oh, there. Aw. The guy that likes bugs.
Battle Cry, summon a 1/1 Locust with Rush. And it's just like this gnome whose eyes are wide with wonder, and he looks like he's got like this whole like pack and bug net, and is just like out there finding all of the creatures of this new world. And I don't know, there's something just struck me so hopeful about it. I immediately liked it.
He's got a magic net. It looks like
a
nice
case on
fella.
his back to like hold them in it. And
whenever I when I see a card like this, I can't wait to hear the voice acting that comes out when he gets cast.
Absolutely, it's going to be
Like
interesting.
I'm hoping. The gnome cards traditionally have made me crack up. Like anything that's a gnome, I kind of just ella giggle every time I hear it.
And a 2-mana 2/1 that summons a 1/1 with Rush. I mean, that'll see play. So we'll see this.
Yeah, this is like Hench Clan Hogsteed, but you get the reward up front. It's worse against removal, but better against everything else. So it's kind of cool that that it's just like it's a good rate for the card. And in the flavor text, he's the only one who likes bees.
Oh, that's great. That is great.
So let's talk about this Warlock card, which is right next to it in our show notes, which just moved.
Sorry.
Where did it go? I was going to read it, Eve. Neverset. What is it again?
Neverset Thrasher.
Neverset Thrasher. Yes. And I cannot find it for some reason. Where did it go, Eve? What'd you do to me?
I just deleted the guy, so everything moved. So now you're not going to be able to.
Oh, yeah, and the hat made it like 3,000 times bigger. Okay, got it.
Oh, wow.
Neferset
It's
Thrasher.
huge.
It's ginormous. It is a common warlock card minion, and it is a 3-cost 4/5. Whenever this attacks, deal 3 damage to your hero. So a 4/5, a Yeti body for 3. And it does damage to me though. Very consistent with the warlock flavor. So we were wondering how, if you need more ways to do damage and have a board, this is your boy. Seems good. I mean, in a zoo deck, I would play this on 3.
Just
Yeah,
big.
it's strong for a
Just-
3.
Hard to get rid of this that early in the game,
Yeah, 5 health.
I mean,
we've already seen how difficult it is to get rid of.
And you don't want it to stay around forever, but your opponent's going to trade into it. So they just trade all the early stuff in, and you attack your opponent's face. And I don't know, it deals you 6 and them 8, and then they get rid of 2 to 3 cards to deal with it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take that deal. That's fine.
Yeah. That downside is not as big of a downside as I think people would initially think it was. And I think I would play that card in a heartbeat in the type of deck that would want an early minion of that strength. I don't know. So what do you think? Is that a mid-range control or aggro card? It seems like it's more of an aggro card as much as anything else.
Oh, it's really aggressive. It's Warlock already, so if you attack with this twice, instead of doing that, you could have life tapped 3 times.
Sure.
So if you're in a deck that would rather have 3 more cards over time, then you don't want this card. But if you say, I don't have time to tap 3 times and I want to kill my opponent, then you do this. And if you don't have time, that means you were aggressive by definition. And this is really, really good if you want to get to know your opponent's face better as quickly as possible. This is what you do.
Yeah. Seems good.
I had a thought, but then I lost it.
You lost it? Where did you put it?
Ah, dang.
Do you have a messy mind where things get lost in?
Well, I was listening to you and focusing on what you were saying, and then it just went out of my head. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Oh boy. Let's see. Well, let's see. Let's find a different card. All right. So I like this card. I think of it as a warlock card, even though it's not. 2 mana, common, Vile Fiend, 2 mana, 2/2, Lifesteal Demon, neutral. So another neutral demon, which we've been seeing. It seems like we've been seeing a few more of those. Just a nice little card. Early, get some life. Could buff it. So in a deck that wants to buff stuff, could be good. Thoughts?
Vile Fiend.
Vile Fiend. It's a cool I don't know, bug-like beastie kind of thing.
It's a demon.
Yeah.
Demon.
And
It's
it
a
has
demon thingy.
lifesteal. I guess they do that. Demons
do that.
do have lifesteal, but you know what? It doesn't really fit with the flavor of the rest of the set. Well, we're doing all like sort of Egyptian feel things. So I
I
kind of
don't
wonder
know.
if it was left over from another.
Well, the League of Evil brought it with them.
Okay.
And they said in the live stream you're going to start to see a few of the evil class cards are like two different of the leaders working together. Like Candle Taker, which is the 3 mana 3/2 with Reborn, the neutral. That is Lazul working with Togwaggle, right? Because it's like an undead kobold sort of thing. The two of them are working together. Or you look at the shaman card, the weaponized wasp. That is definitely Hagatha and Dr. Boom working together because they took a wasp and they put a laser on it. So they kind of have the theme of they crash landed Dalaran in Uldum somehow when trying to get to where were they trying to get to? They were trying to get somewhere that was not anywhere near close to Uldum. I forget where, but it was all the way in the north of the continent. And it's completely ridiculous.
But no, they were trying to get to Uldum, and then they crashed into Blackrock Mountain.
Yeah, that. Oh, right. Yeah, they crashed into Blackrock Mountain, which they're not near each other.
Not even close.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
So this whole thing is just kind of ridiculous, but they're transplanting all of the League of Evil stuff into Uldum as well, so you get to kind of Hearthstoneify the flavor and do whatever they want, as they are known to do.
Okay.
Which I'm fine with.
I'll accept that. Have you been playing World of Warcraft recently, Hat?
Nope, I unsubbed in the beginning of the year.
Because my
It's been a while.
understanding is Vesina, the new legendary for Shaman, is from a new race that is kind of been revealed when they went down into the water of Nazjatar. Vesina reads, while you're overloaded, your other minions have +2 attack. It's a 4-mana 2/6. I love the art for this card. It's absolutely beautiful now that I've made it so huge.
And she is a Sethrak, which was from the last World of Warcraft expansion.
Okay.
I know it's from Uldum, which is on the continent of on Dazerlore, I think. I know that's the city. I don't remember what the continent is called. It's Rastakon's continent, home continent. Zandalar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Zandalar, not under the sea with all of the Naga
Correct.
sea witches
Yeah, it's
and
a Sethrak.
everything. She's a snake.
Yep. Yes.
Snake person.
Correct.
Do you think this is good?
She's a snake person.
So there are a few aggro overload cards in the set. One of them is actually on my list to talk about as well. It's Sandstorm Elemental, which is a 2-mana 2/2 elemental battlecry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions and overload 1, which is like a little Maelstrom portal, except you're guaranteeing a 2/2 and you overload.
Yeah.
And I think there's one other overload card that was revealed. I don't remember exactly what it is, but they're definitely going for more aggressive shaman cards. And this card is real good with Thunderhead, let me tell you. Real good with Thunderhead.
Oh, yeah.
Because it makes a bunch of free ones.
+2 attack.
So you
And
get
I
a
mean,
bunch
it
of
does
stuff,
make
yeah.
your totems able to attack as well and do a decent amount of damage.
Anything. Makes Voltaic Burst by itself. 1 mana attack with 2/3/1. Like, it's a buff that you don't have to pay for. On a 4-mana 2/6 that doesn't buff itself, it's a little questionable, but if you can have this hit 2 minions, you get your investment back. 2/6 is kind of hard to kill, and you probably don't want to sink all that much damage into it against an aggro shaman. I think there's something here.
I mean,
you
4
could
mana
also,
to me seems like low enough that you can put it in an extremely aggro deck and not feel bad about it.
Yeah, and you curve it into Doomhammer, and then you hit him in the face. That's what you do with Doomhammers.
Well, yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't give you attack. It gives your minions attack.
You can play minions first, and then you hit him in the face.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't have to be
Doomhammer costs
complicated.
a lot.
Costs 5.
I know. For aggro, that's a lot. That's like the high end.
But 16 damage to the face. I don't understand.
If you 16?
8 times 2.
Where are you getting the 8 from?
That's the durability of Doomhammer.
Yeah.
Because I always did it with the give yourself +3 attack and then
Well,
hit
it's if you
twice.
rock biter, it doesn't. They just die. They just
Rock
evaporate
biter.
into
There
thin
we go.
air.
Rock
Yeah.
biter. That's...
Well, yes, if you do that, that is way more. But it's 16 damage over 4 turns, unless
like,
you
you
rock
don't
biter
play
and then your
Doomhammer
opponent.
without rock biter. They're kind of like friends. They go together.
Yeah,
like
of
peanut
course,
butter
but-
and jelly.
But sometimes you don't draw the rock biter, and sometimes you have to play 2 Doomhammers to kill the stupid warrior. And so that means it's 5 mana deals, 16 damage over 4 turns, and that's still pretty good. Point here is Vesina seems like it's a natural fit with the aggro shaman archetype, even though it's
Right.
not super minion intensive, and Thunderhead in the combination here is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It really is.
All right.
It does add
that
to
makes
that
me
deck.
happy.
And that deck's got some room for improvement, too, for sure.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. There's some
So-
spots in it.
What do you guys think of Crystal Merchant? It is and they moved.
I
Darn
did
it.
again.
I can't. Well, the problem is I don't know if it went up or down, and so I have to scroll for a second because Crystal Merchant is a Druid minion. It is a 2-cost, 1/4 epic minion, and it reads: if you have any unspent mana at the end of your turn, draw a card. That seems pretty good because
Drawing cards is good.
drawing cards is good. They said that it seems like it's consistent with what Druid wants to do, according to what they posted a couple months ago. And on turn 2, you won't get it on your first turn likely. Turn 3, it's sort of like an Acolyte of Pain, except you don't have to do anything extra to damage it. seems like it'll be kind of tricky to get rid of. I guess the question is do you not want to spend mana for any reason in Druid? And I'm not sure what that looks like. So what do you guys think? It's an epic, so it could be good. It may not be good. I don't know. What's a scenario that I'm not thinking of here?
I don't know. Like, maybe Hat can speak to this, but this doesn't have any place in my deck.
In Token Druid, no.
Right.
No.
Not
If
in
you're
Token
floating
Druid.
mana, you are losing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no reason that I would want card draw because I have enough.
Well, it's.
Mhm.
I mean, if you could draw cards other ways than this, then you would absolutely do it. But drawing cards by doing less is not what you want to do. You want to do more, not less.
Mhm.
This is a quest Druid card, right? Because the quest is end 4 turns with unspent mana, and they showed a cool interaction on stream. You can coin or innervate, and that counts.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you go turn 1 quest, turn 2 this and innervate. Innervate says 0 mana, tick up my quest, draw a card. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it seems like a situationally strong card. Definitely not for every deck, but it seems like you're not sad if you have this card, if you pull it.
It's a quest payoff, and it makes Crystal Song Portal better, because Crystal Song Portal was pulling from the current pool of Druid minions, and Druid minions are weird. They're really strange. Like, sometimes they're awkwardly cost to choose one, sometimes they're Treant synergy for reasons that we don't really know why. There's a lot of weird Druid minions, and this is just, if you ever get this randomly or draw it late game, it's always going to at least draw you a card if you wanted to. Like, you can just have any turn where you don't have 10 mana worth of stuff to do, and just, like, play this and cycle, and then it's a 1/4. That's pretty good. It's a good rate for always draw a card, sometimes draw multiple, sometimes absorb damage from my opponent. I think 2 mana is a good cost for that. And Druid doesn't really do much in the game right now outside of tokens, so this is a different thing to do with Druid, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
It's true. I have been playing Crystal Song in my Druid for a while, and yeah, the stuff you get off of that sometimes is
It's
just
weird.
unusable. And seeing this, I would be happy, I think, over some of the other options that they give you.
You shrug, you play it, and you draw a card, and you move on. Like, things are great.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So, what about, because the epic cards are the ones that I find to be the most, I'm gonna say, confusing and or interesting. So, next one is a epic minion, Dwarven Archaeologist. Love the art here too. Anything with glowing blue stuff or purple stuff just tends to draw my eye. It's a 2-cost, 2/3 minion, and it reads: after you discover a card, reduce its cost by 1. So it doesn't allow you to discover a card, but if you were to be discovering cards, you get like a cheat out on it. I don't know, cheat it out a little bit. Is it good or not? Because it has to be on the board before you do stuff, right? Is it too expensive? Is it worth it for a deck slot? I mean, the body is vanilla, right? 2-cost, 2/3, so it can do something for you if that's all. If you just have to slap it down, but it seems like it would be a later game card, not an early game card.
I don't know. Reducing its cost by 1 doesn't seem like enough to make it. Like, this is very situational. You don't want to have too many requirements for a card to be good.
Yeah.
It's you need to be discovering a lot. Now, there are 3 specific payoff cards here: Omega Assembly, Crystal Song Portal, and Master's Call. Because those cards all say discover 3 things, and if you meet a condition, you keep all 3, but it's still discover. Even though the discover screen never pops up, still discover. So if you were to
All
play
of
those
them
3
would?
cards, all of them would get in your hand discount. Because even if you play Crystal Song Portal and you have no other minions in hand,
Right.
and the screen never pops up, it's never multiples of the same minion, or it's never different classes or whatever. It's always by the rules of Discover, because you're discovering, it just picks all 3 for you.
Oh no.
Sure.
They put this in Warrior.
Well, so they
You
could,
could.
but like, if your warrior opponent has Dr. Boom and a Mega Assembly, they do not need this 2 mana 2/3.
Right.
They are
No,
doing
no.
fine.
You have
They do not
points.
need it. It would be for Crystal Song Portal specifically, because that costs 2, and this costs 2, and that means 4 mana. Get a 2/3, discover 3 Druid minions, keep them all, and discount them all by 1. That's a lot of stuff. You do a lot of things. So I don't know if that's worth it, but I mean, it's a lot of stuff. Like, you're basically paying 4 mana and 2 cards to draw 3 cards and gain 3 mana.
Seems very involved, to make it
Yes.
like good.
Yeah,
It's a
I
hoop.
think that they're just going like, let's try things out on cards and see how they work, and
See what the
just
community
trying to
comes up
give
with.
interesting abilities, interesting ideas, and this is one that has too many gears.
It's
Mhm.
fun. You're gonna get this sometimes off of Faceless Lackey, and then something's gonna happen in your game where it's relevant. And you're gonna be like, "Wow, that's really cool," and it'll show up on Trollden, and that's the end of it. I don't think anyone is going to put this in their deck, like on purpose. But I think
Mhm.
randomly generated, it will do some things sometime.
Mm.
You know what? I think I would put Garden Gnome in my Druid deck right now.
What's Garden Gnome
Wait.
say, Eve?
Yeah.
Garden Gnome is a 4-mana 2/3 that reads Battlecry. If you're holding a spell that costs 5 or more, summon 2 2/2 treants. So 4 mana for a 2/3 and 2 2/2s. Wait a minute.
So
does
it's a lot
that
like
look
the hyena, the alpha
familiar?
hyena card.
Yeah, the alpha hyena. So
It's just a different condition.
there's definitely a bunch of 8-mana spells in my Druid deck, which would trigger this quite easily if they were in my hand. And I mean, by turn 4, when I'm going to cast this, is it better than 7
Whispering
1/1s?
Woods? Is it better than Whispering Woods?
Yeah, that would be 7 1/1s.
What if
Yeah.
you don't draw Whispering Wood, or what if they have a Warpath?
This
That's
Or
what
what
I'm
if you-
saying.
What if you play this? So, Whispering Woods, if it's not for 7, Dynomatic cleans it up. Dynomatic will never clear this. It can't do it because this is 7 and Dynomatic only does 5. But if you only Whispering Woods for 5 or 6, it's still clearing it up. This is
And
more
the treants
stats.
are good because I have tree whisperers that are just waiting for a couple treants to stick to the board to make them into 5/5s.
Yeah. And it's more
This
more
is
treant
true.
synergy with Mulch Muncher or Dendrologist or whatever if you wanted to do that. It is an above rate token card. The spells that cost 5 or more thing, it's really only Forest Aid. You have to have a Forest Aid in your hand. So do you ever build that deck to put more expensive spells in it for the sake of triggering this? I think probably not. I think you don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can answer that better than I can, Eve. Would you put more expensive spells in your deck to make this worth it? Because then sometimes you don't draw this, and you do draw the expensive spells, and I don't know what you do.
Right.
Well, I think it might change your mulligan. But
then, man, would you ever want to be in a matchup where you have to go fast and then you keep an 8-mana spell? That seems kind of tough.
the thing is that the 8-mana spells have Twin Spell. And a lot of the times at the end of the game, when you're just trying to hold out against that warrior, the wisps aren't going to do it. But refilling your board 15 times with 2/3s and 2/2s is better than 1/1s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it might be just a critical mass thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of that's where it is right now when I play against warriors. I don't know what the meta is going to look like after all of this drops, but I am tempted to, if I had access to this, I would put it in my deck.
I think it's worth trying at the very least. It could very well be more consistent, and there are probably ways to build that deck where you can include a couple more expensive spells if you really wanted to. But also, if you get this to trigger, it's absolutely worth the rate. It's just a question of how frequently that can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be worth it.
I can see it.
Let's see here. What's next? And then let's just be clear. Let's take a moment to pause and say, hey, there's a lot of cards that are released, and as with every set, many of the cards aren't necessarily worth talking about in as much as there's nothing interesting to say about them. I'm sure we could conjure up something to say about it, but we're not going to definitely get through all of them. So if you're sitting through this episode thinking we're going to do an exhaustive, comprehensive commentary on every single card, you're listening to the wrong show, because that's the Happy Hearthstone that you want to go check out when they do that.
Oh, yeah.
They go through everything, and they are comprehensive, and Andrew and Steve do a fantastic job. Shout out to those guys for their quality work. So we will not be doing that today.
So why don't we do 5 more cards?
Let's do 5 more and call it a night.
That's a deal. I accept.
All right, go ahead.
5 more. Pick one.
Let's
Pick a
do
cut.
let's do 2 for 1. I'm gonna do a 2 for 1.
A
This,
two
this
for-
counts
got
as
it.
one card, not as two, because we
Okay.
should talk about
Okay.
priest. We should
We
talk
do
about.
need to talk about priest.
We need
Yes.
to talk about priest. So there's the priest quest and there's the priest legendary, and both are very important cards, and I think
Yes.
both are very powerful cards. So the priest quest, activate the obelisk, 1 mana, legendary spell, of course. The quest is restore 15 health, not just to you, not just to your
Just in
hero, to
general.
anything.
Mhm.
Anything. You can circle of healing an entire board and it counts their health too. And the reward is Obelisk's Eye, which is a 2 mana hero power. Restore 3 health instead of restore 2 health. And if you target a minion, it also gets +3/+3 per mana.
That's crazy.
So it heals for 3 instead of healing for 2 like your normal priest hero power. It's already an upgrade. And then if you target a minion, in addition to that, you go just under a Blessing of Kings and you throw that in for free. And it's the numbers on this seem bonkers. Just the math of how that works seems ridiculous. Like you don't really need a win condition. You just need a really annoying, persistent reborn board,
Mhm.
and then your stuff just keeps coming back, and then it gets +3/+3 every single turn.
You
And
know,
it's
I like this a lot because, we haven't had a priest deck that kind of was like a minion centric deck in a while. Like Dragon Priest is what I'm thinking of. Dragon Priest, you just want to
Yeah.
build strong minions and you just want to maintain board. And I think this quest is really kind of geared towards that style of play in Priest, because it seems like for the longest time, Priest was either like OTKing you or building a board of stuff that they've resummoned back for and summon an entire board back that can't be dealt with for 7 mana for a long time now. And I think a lot of people have missed Dragon Priest. I don't know, Eve, you used to be called the Dragon Priest, person.
Priestess.
Priestess. You're the Dragon Priestess. Because that
Yeah,
was one of your jams.
The tempo, like putting down valuable, strong cards that could do things every turn, I really appreciated. And if this is ends up being that, I think you want to put in, I could be wrong, but I think you want to put in some cards that need healing so that you can get that 15 healing done. Maybe you put in injured Tolvir, which comes into the playing field injured, and then you can heal it up. Taunt, Battlecry, deal 3 damage to this minion.
Or injured Blade Master.
Injured Blade Master, that kind of deal, so that you know that you're going to be able to get a big heal off and get that 15 done quickly.
and the reborn minions all come back damaged to 1.
Mm-hmm.
They don't come back set to 1, they come back damaged to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those reborn minions, they come back and they're ready for healing. And
I completely forgot that. For some reason in my head, I was thinking their life was now 1.
yeah, they come back with the red butt. So you can heal the red butt.
Ooh.
And in addition, there's another card here, this Priest Legendary, which also synergizes somewhat well. High Priest Amit, it's a 4 mana 2/7. Whenever you summon a minion, not play, summon, set its health equal to this minion. And this card seems absurd as well.
Especially
because
Reborn.
there's
All your
and
reborns
with-
get 7 health.
with Psychopomp, you play a 4 mana 3/1 that becomes a 3/7. It brings back a minion that becomes an X7, and it gains Reborn. When that dies, if it comes back, it becomes an X7 again. So
That's absurd.
So Priest is getting a lot, but so remember what I said at the beginning of the show. The numbers seem crazy, but all of this is so board centric. It's all about, you have to care about combat for this to matter.
Mm-hmm.
But all this stuff still dies to Twisting Nether, Plague of Death, whatever. Any damage agnostic removal, which the format has a ton of right now, still gets frozen by Frost Nova. This has so many built-in counters that even if the numbers look really, really tuned up, it's still dealable. You can still deal with it. And I really like the inherent balance in the game there. Plus, it makes me excited to play Priest.
Yeah, that's
Man.
true.
But you know what everybody thinks of when they see big priest minions with big butts?
Not lying.
Doubling the health and
Topsy-turvy.
then making the attack equal to the health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that
But-
to be the thing.
But it can't be the thing because there's no shadow vision. without Shadow Visions, priest combos existed forever. You know what you had to do? You were priest. Gee, I hope I draw this combo. Because if you don't draw Divine Spirit, you have nothing. There's only 2 copies of Divine Spirit in your deck. Without Shadow Visions, you can't go get it. So you have to
But
really
it's like
hope you draw
Rogue
them.
always having backstab. The
Eve,
priest
I'm sorry
always
that you
has
lost
it.
to the Rogue. They don't. They don't. Rogues draw so many more
No.
cards than priests.
Every time
Unless the priest
I
goes
play
full
Rogue,
Northshire.
they always have backstab. And priests always have Northshire. It's just never at the
Backstab's a
bottom
good
of their
card.
deck.
Well,
Oh,
one
boy.
copy is they just have the other copy.
Right, it's true. They only get one. That is very cool. I am interested in this new priest. I want to see this new priest. Something that's not like that unfair feeling of I killed it and it came back again, and I killed it again and it came back again. I killed it again.
Yeah, that sums up priest in a lot of ways.
Well, that sums up the white spellstone, pearl spellstone,
The diamond
Yeah.
spellstone.
diamond spellstone. That's that card. Not okay. Not you can't. Don't do that. Hearthstone, stop doing that. Like
Yeah, agreed.
Wall Priest, I think might have been my least favorite deck to play against ever. It's way up there, and just the recursion of things that you see a 2/14 with Divine Shield and a 3/12, and you're just like, why? This is gonna be the current set's gonna be annoying, but not that kind of annoying. So
Sure. Yeah, it won't make you levels of annoying where you're like, oh, this deck, I don't even want to play this. I'll just concede just because I don't want to play against it.
I might close the client, but I won't uninstall.
Yeah. That's what's happening there.
I'm going to put a smile on your face. Take a look at Beaming Sidekick.
So happy.
You can't
So
not
happy.
smile when you see her, and she's got like a compass in her hand and her rucksack and heading out into the wilderness. Battle cry, give a friendly minion +2 health.
And what's the mana and stats on that?
1 mana, 1/2, neutral.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
I feel like
that's
it's
strong.
a good, like we're seeing a lot of good 1-drops. Because that's always kind of the, what's the good 1-drops of this expansion?
Okay, so wait, so you know what this is? This is the opposite of Abusive Sergeant.
Beaming Sidekick.
Well, because Abusive Sergeant was a 2/1 that +2 attack and it was mean. And this is a 1/2 with +2 health and it's nice.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's the opposite of Abusive Sergeant. That's really clever.
But Blizzard believes in balancing the universe, I think.
And this is
Just
good
a
because like
positive.
more health you get to trade more often, and trading more is better. Like
Especially
it's
with,
less aggressive.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I like this card.
So
I haven't been keeping track. Where are we? Do we have
We've got
cards
3 more.
left?
We've got 3 more.
Okay.
tres más.
Okay.
So Anubisath Defender Druid card. It is an epic Druid card. It is a 5-cost 3/5 minion. Taunt costs 0 if you've cast a spell that costs 5 or more this turn. So, anybody remember the card that this is basically replacing? That is now in Wild.
Arcane Tyrant.
Arcane Tyrant. Great card. This one's a little. It's statted differently. Arcane Tyrant was, if I'm not wrong, a 4/4, right?
4/4 no taunt element.
No taunt. Yeah. This, man, allows you. I look at it as a card that can buy time. I think it's actually a pretty good card because most of the time you're going to want to play it like Arcane Tyrant. It'll just come down for free if you're trying to do a lot of stuff. I like it. I like it a lot. Can be, with tandem with the Druid rare spell, 7-cost spell, Overflow, restore 5 health to all characters, and then draw 5 cards. Drawing 5 cards? Yeah, okay, I'll give you 5 health, fine. I mean, now characters means like anything on the board. So if you're trying to damage a board, that could be a little bit counterproductive. But drawing cards and then putting a minion down for free, okay, doesn't seem too bad. What do you guys think?
It's like a reverse plague. Restore 5 health to all characters includes your opponent's face.
Yeah, Yeah, yeah.
And your face. Their characters
all the
and your
faces.
characters.
But getting
Both
5
ways.
cards, we've learned from Ultimate Infestation that drawing 5 cards is just dang good sometimes. And for 7, even though you don't get a minion and arm, and whatever else you get, and do damage, I should say.
I mean,
So-
being worse than UI is a reasonable watermark for any card they ever print again.
Right.
That's
And there's water cascading out of this card, BT dubs. The dam
From
is
your
broken.
encyclopedic knowledge hat, do you remember the stats of Fel Reaver?
5 mana 8/8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So Mortuary Machine is a 5 mana 8/8 with a downside, just like Fel Reaver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, to finish up Anubis Out Defender real quick, Druid
Okay.
needs it because Druid is not in a great spot right now, but free is scary. And there could be a point where they get Druid to be good again, and then they'll do too much in one turn, and I won't like that. But as of right now, I'm glad they made this because it's defensive and it's probably what the class needs to see if it's going to ramp again because you need a payoff for ramping. And as of right now, there's no payoff for ramping.
Right. Yeah,
And
you
as far
just
as
die.
Mortuary, yeah. Now, Mortuary Machine, very similar to Fel Reaver, but the downside is very different.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's Mortuary Machine, Eve? Tell the fine folk.
Oh, I was scrolling. After your opponent plays a minion, give it Reborn.
That's scary.
And it's an
It
epic
is.
mech.
But remember how scary Fel Reaver was? It was every time it takes damage, you have to discard 3 cards from your deck. They burn up.
Okay.
No,
But
it
if they're
was-
dead, then that doesn't matter. And the thing, okay, so here's what I want you to envision, Eve. I want you to envision a scenario where you play this, and then your opponent takes their turn 5, and they play a card you might not have heard of. It's called Ziliax. And they play Ziliax,
Yeah.
and then you just gave that Ziliax Reborn, and you're playing an aggro deck. How do you feel?
Terrible. Oh gosh.
Because you know what people think when they play against Ziliax? Gee, I wish they got that back.
Says no one ever.
Wait a minute. Mortuary Machine's also a mech, which means you can mechanize it.
You can put your own Ziliax on it, and then bump into their Ziliax, and their Ziliax comes back. Could do that.
Yeah, that's
It's
mm.
so for a Mortuary
Not
Machine
as
to be
good as
good.
Fel Reaver.
Because Fel Reaver, like, the aggressive deck didn't want to take very long. It didn't want time to go. It wanted those cards to never matter. So it just said, you can have them, I don't need them, and then I hit you in the face for 8. But this card enables your opponent's defenses to be better than they otherwise would be, and that's really scary. Really, really scary. So you have to be going really fast, you have to be able to punch through things, and you have to finish the game quickly. Aggro Shaman does all those, because Earthshock's a great card. And there's absolutely a world where Ziliax rotates out, or gets nerfed, hopefully, and then we have this card and nothing our opponent can play can get past Earthshock and Doomhammer, and then we hit our opponent for a lot of damage. And I would like that. But also, that's a very specific scenario that has to happen that exact way, and if your opponent gets multiple taunts that don't have Reborn and now they do have Reborn, that could be bad.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the meta is.
Yeah.
Maybe people just don't play Ziliax anymore.
I'm sorry, what?
I said it right as Hat was drinking. I was expecting the spit to fly.
Oh my goodness.
I choked a little. It's
I'm sorry.
All
what?
right.
Gag, choke. Okay, we got what?
There's
Two more
so
now?
many good cards.
more.
It's so
Two more.
hard. Like,
There's
just
so
for the
many.
art, I want to talk about Blatant Decoy.
that one is hilarious. And it's a weird disruption card, right? Like, so what's the text on that?
Death Rattle, each player summons the lowest cost minion from their hand.
And that's a 6 mana 5/5 neutral epic with Death Rattle. This card makes Doomsayer much worse. Because you really don't want to have a Doomsayer in your hand and your opponent pops it. That's not what you want. You don't want that.
6 mana 5/5.
It's a weird card. I don't know what I'd do with this. Lowest cost specifically. This has to be some kind of weird combo disruptor. Is this for to beat Quest Mage or something? Like you can pull the Sorcerer Apprentice out of their hand.
Well, you remember in Paladin how they're always looking for like low cost cards and then switching them with like the
Oh, yeah,
spell.
it can eat a Shirvala. It can pull a Shirvala.
Yeah.
A 0
Could.
mana
I was
Shambhala.
thinking.
Could.
So weird though, like Death Rattle and a 6 mana 5/5 is just kind of like really clunky. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with it.
Because
I'm
your
sure there's
opponent
something.
is going to be able to choose how they kill this, and they're going to know what's going to come out onto the board. Because you're not going to be able to put it down and immediately kill it unless, shenanigans.
Like you could Grim Rally it, I guess, but that's really weird. I don't know.
I mean, you could put it in your rogue deck and make it a 1-mana 1/1.
You could. I could.
And then you
happen.
could summon out the lowest cost minion in your hand, and that's all you care about. You don't care what they have.
Which would also probably be some other Death Rattle that I turn to 1-mana 1/1, like the thing that draws me 8 cards.
Yeah.
Octo something.
Well,
Remember the Octo.
is this like a way to cheat out a bunch of stuff in Hunter with like what is it?
What,
the
like
card
Scavenging
that-
Hyena?
Well, no, I mean like anywhere you can do Death Rattle twice. Death Rattle's triggered twice, right?
Oh, Play
Or
Dead.
something like that.
Or
Play Dead
Play Dead or Feign Death or Necromechanic.
Feign- yeah.
You
And so
could,
you-
but you're not really cheating so much as like paying in advance, right? Like you're
Yeah.
because you're paying the 6 mana 5/5, which is already really expensive. Then you get the mana back. It feels like so much work.
But what
Feels
if
like
like
a
the
lot of
lowest
work.
cost minion in your hand is like Deathwing?
Then you get a Deathwing.
Or you get some Savannah Hymenes or something. So I mean, maybe it's like a late game card where like you save up a
Right.
combo, turn 10, you drop it plus a couple things, double your Death Rattles, and you have a giant board. But then it's conditional because you might have a giant board, but your opponent might also have a giant board. Who knows?
And ramping from 6 to 10 is kind of a weird way to ramp. Like
Mhm.
you could do that. It could be just a very strange giant anaconda. But that requires some very specific deck building restrictions. I don't know.
It's very epic. It's an epic.
This is going to be untrolled, and someone clever is going to figure out how to make this part of a combo, and I think that they deserve it every view they get. But I don't envision playing this card.
Yeah. I don't want to play it. I want to watch somebody else play it
Yes,
and
exactly.
be impressed.
Right.
Yeah.
I want somebody's imagination to tantalize mine.
All right,
Good usage of the word tantalize, Grant.
that is a good use. Last card. Let's talk about Siamat. This is a big cool. Is this a djinn? This is a djinn, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this was a boss in that it was a dungeon.
It was actually the first adventure when you go in and you meet the Tol'vir for the first time, and you had to like go through and defeat all of their guys, and then you like jumped up to his platform on like a whirlwind.
Yeah, I did this in time walking. Was this Mop? Or was this earlier than Mop? This was
No, this is Cataclysm.
Kata. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Kata.
I remember
yeah,
he had a
he's
weird
like,
mechanic where like you had to walk close and then walk away, and yeah.
Yeah, he like push you away with whirlwinds. It was not a great fight. People were not a fan of it. But he's directly under Deathwing. Like Deathwing sent him to give the Tol'vir metal and stone bodies to reverse the curse of flesh and be like, "We'll give you this. Come work for us." Dealio. He's a bad guy.
Yeah. But a good card.
Alakir under Alakir.
So what is the card? What does it say?
Battlecry, gain 2 of Rush, Taunt, Divine Shield, or Wind Fury. Your choice.
Oh yeah.
Can you choose Wind Fury twice? Would that give you double Wind Fury? Or would that just give you one Wind Fury?
No, you cannot. You cannot do that.
You pick it, and then that option's probably not.
Yeah. Wind Fury
submitted.
translates to mean this thing can attack twice. So this thing can attack twice. Written twice doesn't mean you get to attack more than twice.
Oh, I am.
And
So
you
no
still
Mega
can't
Wind
even.
Fury.
Yeah.
I mean, it
No.
makes sense, but also I'm sad.
For what it does, the cost is great. And it can be situational, which is great. So it's like, man, I just need to put something up that's going to stop them from hitting me in the face. Taunt, Divine Shield, baby. Or I want to clear their boards, and it's tamping it down. Rush, Divine Shield, Rush, Taunt, or Rush, Wind Fury. That kind of stuff. That could situationally. I like the flexibility of the card.
I like that it doesn't have lifesteal.
So here's a question: if you have something that your battle cries trigger twice, do you get all of the options?
You do. Well, you get to choose again,
Mm-hmm.
and I think likely you would probably choose the other two.
Right.
And also, if you have a Shutterwalk, then it also gets a lot of keyword.
Oh gosh! Oh, don't.
You're gonna trigger Grant.
Oh my gosh! That kind of stuff just like I'll be laying in bed tonight and it'll like wait, cold sweat, you know.
Oh my gosh!
The Shadowworks got Divine Shield, Taunt, Wind Fury, and Rush.
But it doesn't deal infinite damage. Doesn't deal infinite damage over 10-minute turns.
That's true.
Animations are much shorter now. It can't hurt you anymore. Its jaws cannot bite you. Its claws cannot catch you. You're okay. You're safe.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's a neutral.
Yes,
So
it's
a neutral. It's an elemental. It does a lot of stuff. Like, so I was thinking about this. If this was hard coded to one of these options, you'd never pay 7 mana for 6/6 with any two of these. I don't think. Like, the best two would probably be, I would think, probably Wind Fury, Divine Shield. Because with just Rush...
Well, then it doesn't have Rush. It sits there and they have a chance to deal with it. So I kind of feel like Rush and then one of those, either Wind Fury or Divine Shield.
And Rush and Divine Shield is more defensive. Rush and Wind Fury, you get to kind of be a walking fountain without lifesteal, sort of. I don't think you'd pay 7 mana for a 6/6 with two of those abilities that you just put it in your... Right? The flexibility is the reason to play this card, but it is very flexible. And against control, Divine Shield, Wind Fury, this is, I'm going to attack you for 12 next turn and you probably can't stop me. Against aggro, it is probably Rush and Wind Fury or Rush and Taunt or Divine Shield and Taunt, whichever one is best against whichever deck you're playing, but it's all of these cards at the same time. So you're paying probably about a 1 mana premium for the flexibility, but that is worth 1 mana, I think. I think you would put this in a lot of mid-range decks, and this would be probably good enough for Cyclone Mage. I think you would play it because it's defensive or offensive, and then you also can give it Rush and Divine and Rush and Wind Fury trade twice and then calling it on turn 10. Or also you can play a Luna's Pocket Galaxy and it costs 1, and that seems really good.
Yeah.
Like, this card would be better at 1 mana than at 7.
And if you can buff it in your hand, it's really good.
Really, really good.
Yeah. Interesting they don't have lifesteal on this card.
They said when they were testing it that they had lifesteal and they took it off because it was way too powerful.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Absolutely.
Heal
it would
for
just
12?
be an auto-include, I think, if it had Lightsteel.
It would be...
2.
It would make aggro not viable in the format.
Yeah.
Like, if every single aggro deck had to fight through Bone Wraith on 4, which is the new 4 mana 2/5 taunt with Reborn, which is a little sludge belcher, and then into Ziliax, and then into Tiamat with Lifesteal, there would be no aggro. It could not exist.
Yeah. And that is not a healthy game. So, wow. We have been at it for approximately... What?
I had to do it.
Oh.
Does he Bone Storm? Is that what he does?
He sure looks like him. I mean, there's one of them in Uldum anyway, but it's like it's not like a frozen bone guy. It's like a dry desert bone guy, but he's basically a mini... What was his name? Marogar?
Marogar, yeah.
Marogar?
Which was
Marogar.
He was in... Yeah, he was the second boss in ICC, I think? First or
I
second?
think he was the first.
Yes,
he was
the first,
DPS
right.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he would yell Bone Storm every time he went into his big whirly whirl. So that's what he reminds me of, Bone Wraith.
Wasn't he one of the bosses in the League of Explorers expansion?
Yes, and he also yelled Bone Storm repeatedly.
Yeah. I remember now.
Yeah. That is correct.
Only this guy has Reborn. Oh my goodness, I totally missed that.
Oh, Bone Wraith is super good. That's a Sludge Belcher. That's what that card is.
No.
It's a 4 mana 2/5 with Taunt and Reborn. That is a Sludge Belcher. So, if that is not the most played card in the set, I'd be pretty surprised.
My little
I just think
aggro
this
heart is dying.
This just goes in pretty much every deck, I think.
It's probably better than
play it.
Sludge Belcher because it's only 4 cost.
Yeah, it's
know.
it's not a 3. The 3 attack versus the 2 attack matters a lot, and a
Yeah.
2/1 comes back instead of a 1/2, and that's also a big difference.
Mm.
But yeah, 1 extra mana is a lot, and it's Sludge Belcher specifically needed to be a 3/5 because it needed to stop piloted shredders, and this has no such restriction. So Bone Wraith, I think, is in a world where minions are a little bit better, but also this minion is very, very good and is a neutral and a common, and will probably be everywhere that Tar Creeper was.
Yeah, I can see that. Yep. Welcome to your new meta,
I'm
ladies
sorry.
and gentlemen.
I'm sorry.
They had to print one. There had to be one.
Yep.
You heard it here, folks.
I'm
Maybe
just looking
first,
for my
probably,
silence
like,
card
10th,
of the
but-
deck. Like where's the silence? Was there a silence printed for this expansion?
No,
No,
none
you
of
just
that I
you
saw.
just make your minions 3/3s and then attack it twice and hero power it. That's your silence.
There's
You'll
no
be fine.
owls.
You'll be fine.
None.
No.
Oh, well, if I play shaman, I have my own built-in silence anyway.
Exactly. Or you can play priest and Cabal Shadow Priest. Oh, nice Bone Wraith. Yoink. That's mine.
It'd be a shame if something happened to it, like
Yes.
became mine. Okay, let's see. We've been at
That
it
was
for about
fun.
2 hours, ladies and gentlemen. We're at 2 hours and 1 minute. So, of course, when I edit the show, it'll be probably a few minutes less just because of all the talking in the beginning of my audio. But, Hat, thank you for joining us this evening.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man,
Appreciate it.
it's I love hearing your perspective on things, and I'm kind of I feel like I kind of stole you from your own show because you guys record tomorrow night, right, on Coin Concede, right?
I don't think you have to worry too much about finding something to talk about this week. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll manage. And we're not going to go through nearly as many cards because we have a ton of tournament structure stuff to talk about. The touch that we did here, and listeners, if you're interested, we broadcast every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/CoinConcede podcast, all about making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you with Appa and Bodicus. So feel free to tune in now. Thank you so much for listening. So we're going to talk about not only the format change, but also the interview that the head of Blizzard Esports did, where he discussed the Masters qualifiers being successful because a lot of people played in them, which maybe isn't the best metric to use, and also about how there's going to be variance between Grandmasters and the actual Masters tournament and the qualifiers. There's a lot of stuff to dig into, so I think we'll be okay. We're not even going to go over anywhere near this many cards because we've had 2 episodes in a row now where we went over 10 cards on both shows, and we're like, wow, it's going to be a short episode. 2 hours later, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, it's easy, especially having done a duo cast. It's a lot easier to get through cards when you only have 2 people's opinions, but when you have 3, it tends to go on. But I thought we got through a lot with 3 of us talking. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, a lot of
we got-
processing here. Good pacing.
I enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, I mean, you can go to Happy Hearthstone, like Grant said, if you want to hear about every single card and whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And when you want to hear about the more in depth about all of the tournament and specialist and all that stuff that's happening, go over to Coin Concede because they're going to go deep dive into it.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Grant, what are we going to do next week?
Next week, let's see. Next week, Wednesday will be the eve, no pun intended, before the drop.
No,
We'll figure.
the day
We'll
after.
think.
Comes out on Tuesday.
You're right. It is. Oh well.
There we
it's
go.
gonna
Our
be-
show's made.
We'll get hype.
Yeah.
We'll get somebody on the show. Maybe I'll ask around, see what people think. We'll just do overall impressions. What's day 1 hype? What are you seeing? I'll
What are you
figure
going to
it
be
out.
playing? What are you going to be playing right out of the gate?
I don't even know because there's so many things that I want to try. It's kind of like I just want to try all the things. I don't have my
Candy
heart set on
candy
any
shop.
one thing. Yeah, that's my problem with Hearthstone is I except for Warrior, I generally like everything in Hearthstone. And
Grant,
so
I have
wanna
2
try it
words
all.
for you.
Hmm.
Whiz bang.
Yeah, I got that. So I can experience the whole set in
New
gold.
deck recipes. New deck recipe.
Yeah, just play Whiz Bang
And
and
the
see
Whiz Bang.
whatever he gives you.
Yeah.
And then if
That's
something
probably what I'll be
feels
doing.
really good, you can be like, I'm going to take that and then tinker with it and adjust it and make it into your own deck.
You know what though? Day one last set, I played against one of my online buddies, and he played a Bwan Samdi deck, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and I've never seen Bwan Samdi since.
Aw.
That was so cool.
The day one success does not always translate to the larger picture.
No.
But
and
you'll
even
always have
week
those
one,
memories.
you will, and I'll always have that Oblivitron that I crafted, but I won't have the dust for it.
Ooh.
And I liked that first week of Oblivitron Hunter, and then I said, this feels like a month one deck, and then 3 weeks later it's like, yeah.
So we will tell all our listeners again, just hold on to your dust. Just wait. Just watch and
Give
I
it a
never
minute.
do. I have to have all the things, and then I'm not usually sad though. It's whatever.
I'm not usually sad, I'm just broke. So if you want to think longer term, don't craft right away, but I will tell you what I am going to play day one, and you heard it here first. Quest Priest. 100% that is day one. I want to play Priest day
I
one.
love that. And when you get something that feels halfway decent, send me the deck recipe because I want to do that too.
Oh, don't you worry. I'm also going to be collecting deck lists like the filthy hoarder that I am. I think we got up to like 80 or 90 deck lists for Rise of Shadows before I did the show with Steve where we ran through them. We have a process now where we have a to-do app that we both use. So we have a shared list that you can just find a link on Twitter or on a website and just share it and add it to the to-do list. And so it's just like instant capture of anything you see into this giant cache of deck lists. Sweet.
I'm going to be looking at Shaman and then keeping an ear to the ground to see if there's any additions to Druid that make me want to play it again. But other than that, Shaman all the way.
I'm actually hoping for you, Eve. I'm hoping specifically that Zoo is good enough and that you can go aggressive Warlock again.
I would love that, but I haven't seen a whole lot of demons. And that's always the flavor that makes me happy in Zoo is the demons with all the fun stuff that they do. But you know what?
You get
it
to eat a lackey and turn it into a 5/5 demon.
That's true.
When you turn a 1/1 into a 5/5, that's 4/4 more.
That is very good.
Yeah,
You
true
cannot
story.
argue with that. A 5/5 is better than a 1/1.
All right, let's see here. Let's close down this popsicle stand. Hat, you've already mentioned your Coin Concede shout out. But where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you directly?
If you go into a Discord and type @ridiculoushat, and if talking about Hearthstone, I'm probably there. You can go on twitter.com/ridiculoushat. That's really it. I don't stream a lot these days because time is precious and hard to nail down.
Yep.
And yeah, like I said, my show, coinconcede.com, with Bodikus and Appa, we record every Thursday night, and feel free to come hang out, hit us up on Twitter @CoinConcede, or join discord.coinconcede.com for a Discord that is fun and active and
Very active.
It's
Very
good.
active.
It's
Can speak from experience. Eve, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter @LoreMasterEve. I have been playing a lot of Destiny recently. They just added a bunch of new stuff to the game that is very ticking all of the boxes and pressing all of the buttons. Like the way that I like to play, which is get all of the things.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so I've been staying up late playing a ton of that. But I will be right back into Hearthstone as soon as the expansion launches because I am super excited about these cards. So when is the last day that I can buy the pre-order?
The day of before it releases.
When
can
is
buy
it
it at, like,
release?
The 6th.
So you can buy through Monday when it'll come out at some point on Tuesday the 6th. Usually it's at 10 a.m. Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say before you wake up on Tuesday, if you want it, you should buy it.
Okay.
Or if you
Yeah.
get up really early on Tuesday, then you can, but you're kind of playing with fire there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll have
so
it.
all
I'll
of
have it on
these-
the weekend.
All of these different contests that are like we will reveal who wins August 1st. That gives you plenty of time to be like, I either did win or didn't, and then go buy the pre-order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow.
You can buy it on Monday.
Cool. I will wait for that and then buy me a pre-order.
Cool beans. All right, if you guys want to find anything Velen's Chosen, head on over to velenschosen.com. All links are there. If you want to support the show monetarily, that means with money.
Says the teacher.
Sorry, force of habit. I'm not trying to talk down to anybody. Head on over to patreon.com/Velen's Chosen Podcast. A cup of coffee a month is well appreciated. If you want to do more, that's great. If you think of ways you want to improve the show, say, hey, I want to support you, but I'd like to see this. All ears. If you want to support the show non-monetarily, then you can give us a 5-star review or just a review on Twitter or iTunes. Not Twitter, iTunes is what I meant. Don't know why I said that. And
if you add us on Twitter, that's like a review. Share us with your friends. It works.
True
Might
story.
work even better, actually. Who even reads reviews?
Good save, Eve. And love to read a review or two. If you are international, we might not read it right away because sometimes it takes us a little while to get those things sent to us, just because of the nature of how those things process. But any support you guys give us is great. Feedback online is great too. I'm always interested to hear what people think of the show. If you liked an episode, if you didn't like an episode, if you liked a particular guest, content, whatever, more of this, less of that, always happy to hear it. Will not take offense to good or bad, thoughtful responses. So let's see here. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? You can find me, if you need to, on Twitter almost all the time at WatchmanHS. You can friend me in game. Be happy to play my Golden Whizbang deck against you if you wanted to do 80 gold quests. I've done that a couple times this week. In fact, I did it with Hat earlier this week and got stomped because I don't think he realized I was playing a Whizbang deck, but I didn't do much.
I did not realize. It was the second game ever I played of Silence Priest. Like, oh, Silence Priest seems fun, and then on turn 6 I killed you. Like, oh, that was better than I expected that to go.
Yeah, I don't think Silence Priest is a bad deck. I think there's a lot of potential for that. I'd be interested to see what new version of that comes out with this next expansion. So
we've got really great listeners, and I just, like, as soon as I log in, someone always just up and goes, I have an 80 gold quest, do you need? And I immediately write into the type, Whizbang. Just, like, to give them a heads up right off the gate. We both know what's going on. Yeah. Go ahead, Hat.
I will say that I became much more interested in Silence Priest after our game. I was like, oh, I should check this out more. But also, if any of you 80 gold challengers out there have a Whizbang, I will borrow it from you. I don't have it. But I will. We can both use your Whizbang. Or we can Zale it. I'd be okay with Zale.
Zale's good too. And then it's all golden cards too. So
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, having a golden coin's kind of nifty because you can see the runes glowing at the bottom of it. It's kind of cool. So, anyways, well, that does it for the show, guys. Once again, thanks, Ridiculous Hat, for coming on our show and giving your time and energy to our production. All right, Eve, sign us off.
Not all who wander are lost. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone, and have fun opening your card packs.
I foresaw this. Did I miss it?
I feel enriched by that.
Enriched, I hope so. Not annoyed.
No, we're gonna be rich.